And it'll say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? All right. Thank you. First and foremost, we will extend to each and every one of you individually and all of you together collectively our deepest appreciation at the co-creation of this interaction and the allowance of this transmission from our reality to yours in this way. Each and every time you afford us the opportunity to interact with all of you, you expand our awareness of all the ways that creation has of expressing itself, and so we thank you for the gift of allowing us to experience that expansion of the multidimensional crystal of creation. We would like to begin this particular transmission in the following way. You have been discussing for quite some time in your age of awareness, your age of cosmic expansion, the idea of dealing with balancing out polarity. You have experienced the idea of great polarity in your reality experience, and you understand that by balancing it out, you can allow yourself the opportunity to mitigate the effects of the negative side and give yourself the freedom to choose what you prefer from the positive side, unless of course you prefer the negative side, which many of you are saying you don't. But nevertheless, the idea is that balancing it all out will allow you to choose consciously and intentionally what you prefer. Now, the idea is that you have been thinking about this idea for a long time as polarity. But as many people are starting to realize, it really isn't the idea of polarity that is the nature of existence. The nature of existence is really a trinity. You have expressed this in a number of ways. The idea is that the balance point in the center is the third point. And the idea is that without that third point, without that trinity, without that balance point, then you are left dealing with the idea of polarity and all of the different kinds of experiences you have had within that particular domain. But if you are allowing yourself finally to recognize creation not just as a polarity, not just as a duality, but as a trinity, and you begin to allow yourself to awaken from that center point, which is where you really exist, in the here and now, in the present, in the center, then it is much easier to deal with the idea of the polarity of positive and negative on either side of that central third balance point, and you can allow yourself to lessen the effects that all of them have. You can neutralize all situations much more easily, and when they are all equally valid, when they are all equally neutral, then you can find that you have the ability to more effortlessly choose what you prefer without invalidating what you don't prefer. Remember that even negativity serves you in positive ways if you allow it to. Many people on your planet, because of the way they have been brought up, the way they have been taught to think, have a difficult time finding some of the positive ideas and applying them in their lives. Well, sometimes, because you're all very clever, you will go about it the opposite way. You will attract into your life something that is exactly the opposite of what you prefer in order to have a comparison, so that by seeing what you don't prefer so strongly, it makes it that much clearer what you do prefer. And thus you can use negative reality in a positive way by allowing it to remind you that that's not what you prefer so strongly that it finally allows move in the direction that you do prefer. In some ways, we have referred to this in the past as the rubber band analogy. If you have a rubber band and you pull it back and pull it back and pull it back, the farther you pull it back, then of course once you let it go, it will snap that much farther and that much faster onto the other side. Well, you've been dealing with the idea of negativity for so long, with darkness for so long, so deeply, so profoundly, and you have pulled that rubber band back into the darkness so far. The good news is that when you finally let that go, you will snap that much farther, that much faster into the light. And that's what acceleration is all about. That's why it happens. So in a sense, again, you can see there are ways in which the idea of having explored negativity, once you let it go, can actually propel you and accelerate you in the direction of the light, in the direction of your true self, and allow you to experience all the fruits and the benefits of that release. Does this make sense to you? All right. So the idea, as you have labeled it, is that this is a time of what you have called cosmic awakening. What does that mean? All right, well, we'll tell you. Thank you. The idea from our perspective is that you are awakening into the understanding that you are the cosmos. You are all that is. The idea of ascension, the idea of acceleration, the idea of consciousness expansion is, in a sense, at least from one perspective, the realization that you actually are the dimension of reality you previously thought you existed in. I'll repeat that. It's an awakening into the awareness that what you have called physical reality is not something that exists outside of you, it exists within you. It's your construction, your illusion, your projection, your creation in order to have a certain experience that you call space-time reality, in order to experience the idea of change, of self-discovery. Because if you exist in a timeless state, there is no change in a timeless state. If you want to experience a new perspective of yourself, you have to create the idea of forgetting who you are in a linear space-time framework in order to have the experience of remembering who you are from a different perspective, of discovering yourself anew from a new perspective. Because you see, the framework of existence, the structure of existence never changes. It's the perspective of the structure that changes, and the perspectives are infinite. And that new perspective, that new discovery, that new self-awareness from a new point of view, that's what expands creation forever and ever and ever, is that it sees itself from a different point of view over and over and over and over and over and over again, infinitely, infinitely, infinitely. But you have a simple structure to work with, and it is those foundational elements, that simple structure, that we also wish to impart to you so that you can understand how to use the structure to your advantage, how to understand clearly, how to see clearly what that framework is, so as to know, to use it to guide you in the direction that you really prefer. Because it really is very fundamentally simple. It really isn't complicated at all. And once you understand how simple it is and render everything down to that simple understanding, then from that simple understanding, you can create an infinitely complex and rich experience without it necessarily being negatively complicated. So the idea is to, again, have that paradoxical balancing of the simplicity and the richly complex, but in a way that serves you, in a way that's aligned with the vibration of your true self, so that you can experience the path you chose in life in the smoothest possible way, in the joyful way, in the most positive, constructive, ecstatic, passionate way that you possibly can. Does that make sense? All right. And again, please remember, these are not just nice ideas. These are not just nice sayings. What we are actually discussing here is physics, vibrational energy physics. It's the law. There are only, from our discovery, from our point of view, there are only 5 laws in existence. Number 1, you exist. You can't do anything about that. You will never change that. You cannot become non-existent. Why? Because by definition, non-existence doesn't exist. So you cannot become non-existent if you exist. It's the only quality you have fundamentally. So you'll never change that. Law number 2, everything is here and now. Law number 3, the one is the all are the one. Number 4, what you put out is what you get back. Number 5, everything changes except the first 4 laws. And that's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. That's the structure, that's the framework, and every single experience you have ever had, are having now, or will ever have, in this reality or any dimension of any reality or any civilization whatsoever, will be some combination of those 5 laws, and that's it. So the rest of it, as you say in your language, is your ball game. It's up to you to use those 5 laws in whatever way, shape, or form, to paint the picture in whatever way, shape, or form is most representative of the vibration of your unique perspective of all that is, because each and every one of you, each and every one of us, each and every being in existence is simply another way that all that is has of seeing and experiencing itself. So value your uniqueness, validate your individuality. Many people on your planet have for a long time been under the impression that the idea of unity comes from homogeneousness, from all being the same, nothing could be further from the truth. It is the true validation of every single individual that creates harmony and synchronicity and allows you to truly function as a unit. Thus, then, you retain your individuality, you retain your unique perspective and energy, while at the same time, because you are true to the unique vibration you are, you harmoniously and automatically fit with every other being also being true to themselves, in much the same way that you have a picture puzzle made of all these different pieces, and each piece is a unique shape. If each one of those shapes tried to be a shape it is not, it would not fit, and it would not allow the picture, the whole picture, to be formed. The only way the entire picture is formed is by each piece being exactly what it is, which means it fits perfectly with all the other pieces, and thus then creates the whole picture that can then support all the individual pieces that have made the picture up. That's how it works. So validate your uniqueness, and you will be yourself, and in being yourself, you will support the unique perspective that all that is created you to be. If all that is didn't think that your unique perspective was necessary in order for it to be complete, you wouldn't exist. Trust me, it doesn't make mistakes. So if you exist, all that is needs you to exist, because without you, all that is would not be all that is. It would be all that is except you. And that's not all that is. So self-validation, self-deservability, self-worth, and the expression in joy, in excitement of your unique self is the key. As we have said many times, and we will probably say again when we answer some of your questions, the only real formula that it comes down to is this. Every single moment that you can. Now, remember, this is actually a vibrational formula, not just a nice saying. Every single moment that you can, act to the best of your ability on whatever contains the highest amount of your excitement, joy, love, creativity, and passion, to the best of your ability, taking it as far as you can till you can take it no further. And do that and keep doing that, no matter how it looks, no matter what form it comes in, with absolutely zero assumption, insistence, or expectation as to what the outcome of that action ought to be. That's it. That's the formula. And if you just do that every moment that you can, I guarantee that when you get in that flow, it will lead you where you need to be led. You'll wind up exactly where you need to be, when you need to be there, with whom you need to be. And it will allow an explosion of ecstatic synchronicity in your life and create the effortless and joyful experience that you all say you desire. And it really is that simple as acting on that formula and knowing that if you do, you are using the basic structure of existence, and thus then it will support you in that positive experience in exactly the same way it has always supported you in any negative experience you chose to buy into as well. You see, you are free to choose. In a paradoxical way, the proof that you are ultimately supported is that you're actually capable of believing that you're not supported. You are so unconditionally loved and so unconditionally supported, you are allowed to believe you are not loved and not supported. That's how supported you are. So anytime you experience the idea, I'm not supported, I'm not loved, stop and take a moment to remember that the only way you could actually have that illusionary experience is if you're actually supported in your belief that that's true, which automatically means you're supported, you're loved. So why not be supported in what you prefer to be instead of being supported in what you don't? Why not? That's the ultimate question. Now then, while you're letting all that sink in, we will once again extend to you our deep appreciation and ask, in return for the gift that you are giving us, how may we serve you now through your questions and dialogue? If you have a question, raise your hand. You will be called on. We will interact. Thank you.
Hello, Bashar. My name is Jay.
All right, good day.
Yes. So I took one of your webinars a little while back. I don't remember the title, but it had to do with asking us to take a vote.
Yes.
Around the...
Around the fifth law.
Yes, correct.
Yes, because there were four, and we realized that in our interaction with many civilizations, one of the subsets of one of the laws, perhaps would serve you better if it was spelled out as its own law, which became the law, everything is here and now, to help you remember that the present is where you exist.
Yes.
And so we asked for your votes as to whether you wanted to keep just the 4 laws or whether you thought it was helpful to have the 5th law to help clarify things a little bit more. How did you vote?
That yes, this is too short.
All right. And so?
So, and the end, after the vote, you mentioned that, well, in a sense, this was our graduation as a species into being accepted into the, I forget the name, but the collective of...
The Interstellar Alliance.
There we go.
You are, in that sense, approaching the idea of membership. You have an honorary membership, but you are approaching the idea of real active membership over the course of the next several years, yes.
Okay.
But it depends upon how much you align yourself with vibrations that are similar to other beings in that alliance. Yes.
So here's my question.
Here is your question. All right, speak up and be bold
Yes.
so that all may hear what you have to share.
Oh boy, oh boy. So given where we are now,
Yes.
what are we contributing? And what could we contribute if we became more for our next step? So it's like 2 questions, actually. What are we contributing now? We must be contributing something.
Of course you are.
Yes, which is?
Well, you are contributing many things, one of which is the idea, as we originally mentioned, that you chose to experience a great degree of forgetfulness and limitation in your reality as a spirit, so that you could remember who you are. The idea is there are not necessarily, although there are some, not necessarily many worlds that have experienced the same degree or depth of exploration of limitation and darkness as you have chosen to experience on Earth. The idea, therefore, is that this isn't a kindergarten, this is a master graduating class. It takes a strong spirit to go into that depth of limitation and forgetfulness and yet still be capable of remembering who you are and bringing light back into your life. That's highly transformative. We have learned many things about your ways of processing this transformation and have shared this with other civilizations who may also experience challenges, but not necessarily to the same degree that your world is. Thus, then they can look at you and say, well, if they can do it, it's easy for us. You understand?
I do, yes.
All right, so that's one
inspiring.
thing.
And what's our next evolutionary step? What could we give as we go along?
As we already said, being yourself as best as you can is what makes all the difference in the world, because then you become an example of the vibration of a shift and a change that is representative of a desire to expand in a way that allows us to expand together as family and friends, and thus then by being able to interact with you that way, we are expanded as a family. You understand?
Yes.
So you are giving that as well. Does that help?
Yes, that does.
Does that
feels
answer
good.
your question?
Yes, it does.
Or shall I say, does that answer your questions?
Thank you, yes.
All right.
I have another,
Oh, all right.
which is, so is there a ship above us as you're here?
There are ships all over the place all the time. You can't always see them.
From your
My particular
SSI.
ship, myself,
Yes.
is still above the area on your planet you call Sedona.
Uh-huh.
But there
Oh,
are
it's
other
there.
ships from my civilization
Okay.
and other civilizations over your cities in various places at various times, almost all the time. You know, the idea is that there are many comings and goings. And it really depends upon whether you simply have the expansion ability in your senses to perceive that those ships are coming and going all the time. There are many vortex hubs around your planet that ships use to go from one dimension or another. They may be passing through whether they stop or not. The idea is that you can begin to perceive some of them more and more. You may not perceive all of them. But really the analogy of asking that question would be the same kind of analogy as asking a person on your planet who has a house underneath an airport if there's an airplane overhead. From time to time, yes, of course there is, because I'm in the flight path.
Uh-huh.
So, in a sense, there are flight paths all over your planet and ships coming and going or stopping and observing or doing various things all the time. Whether you can perceive them or not is a matter of whether or not it's important for you to do so at that moment and the degree of vibrational similarity you may have to those particular beings passing by. Make sense?
Yes. So
Does this help you?
Yes.
And so?
to be in, is it possible to get an invitation to visit your ship?
Understand this. We are always always, always beaming that energy and invitation to you all. You don't always answer. The idea, however, is that that happens at the right place at the right time. There is a timing to these things when it's truly beneficial and appropriate for all. All those appointments have already been made on a higher level. The only way to miss such an appointment is to spend time wondering if you will miss the appointment. That's the paradox. If you just get on about your life and be who you are as fully as you can, you will become the person with whom the appointments were made.
Yes.
Make sense?
Yes.
So don't worry about it. You don't have to ask. All the invitations have already been sent. All the invitations have already been answered. If, in that sense, it is relevant for your life, it will unfold as long as you are being the best you can be. So you don't have to worry about it or think about it. Just get on with your life. Yes?
Yes.
Does
very
that help
good.
you?
That does.
Why, thank you.
you so much for
You are
being here.
welcome
Yes.
so much.
Hello, Bashar.
And a you good day.
You too. Now that Andromeda Council contactee Tulloch and Franco de Nicola have said that Mother Earth as a planet has ascended into fourth dimensional density, what will it take for humanity as a species to ascend into fourth dimensional density to the point where we will realize that time is an illusion, we don't need to have sex to reproduce, we don't need to eat to reproduce, and we can sleep less, and all the other things that come along with being a truly fourth dimensional human?
Fourth density human.
Yeah, that's what I
You're
meant.
already a fourth dimensional human because you have 3 dimensions of space and 1 of time.
Right.
Density is a different thing.
Yeah.
You could look at the idea of dimension, in a sense, as a country, and density as states within that country. You can have the idea of third density and fourth density within the physical fourth dimensional space-time reality. Coincidentally, when you cross from the idea of fourth density to fifth density, you will actually also simultaneously be crossing into the fifth dimension. We, as a civilization, ourselves, are in the process of going from fourth density to fifth density, and this is why we are becoming less and less and less physical. You are going from third density into fourth density, but you will remain in physical reality as a species for about another 1,000 years or so. Over the course of that time, you will find yourself changing in ways that will allow you to refine your energy, accelerate your energy, where some of the things you needed to do before as a physical being will no longer be necessary, similar to what we have experienced, because we no longer eat, we no longer sleep. Our reproduction is handled energetically, very differently than it used to be. So you are heading in that direction. It will probably take you at least a couple of 100 years as an entire society to begin to show more and more and more of that. But what's your hurry?
There is no hurry. Just live life to the fullest, I guess.
You are all eternal, infinite beings. You will know the timing of the transformation that is taking place on your planet. There is no rush. It's all working out. And again, all you need to do, as I said, it's the entire formula, is act on your highest excitement to the best of your ability, and then allow yourself to have no assumption as to what the outcome ought to be. That's all you need to do to experience the timing of the unfolding of all these changes. Now, it's possible that separate individuals may sometimes be a little bit ahead of the curve, and so it's possible that certain individuals will start to exhibit some of those things a little bit before other individuals, but again, that's all right. You're not going to go faster or farther ahead than will serve the collective whole you agree to be of service to. Make sense?
Yes, it does.
You won't leave anyone behind, so to speak. Does that help?
Yes, it does.
Does that answer your question then?
Yes, it does.
Why, thank you.
Hello, Bashar.
And you good day. Speak up, speak up.
This is Kelly.
Oh, all right, if you insist.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for your ebullience and your expansion and your permission to become more passionate and fully uniquely myself.
Thank you for yours. Remember, we are only acting as a reflection of your own higher mind.
I have issues with feeling limited in my ability to interface with mundane things like
Define mundane. And why are you defining them as mundane?
Because of my spirit seems to drop whenever I have to do anything that grounds me into this dimension in
All
terms
right,
of
but
my...
you do understand that the only reason you're having that experience is because of your definition of that experience. You understand that?
Yes.
Are you sure?
No.
Thank you. Thank you for your honesty.
Yeah.
Understand that as a physical being, your psyche is made up of a prism of three things: beliefs, definitions, emotions, feelings, and thoughts, actions. You understand?
Yes.
And the idea is that it all starts with the definition. It all starts with your belief. Some of your beliefs are conscious, some of them are unconscious. The idea is to get in touch with what those definitions are, because if you're experiencing a reality in a way that you don't prefer to, the only way you could be experiencing it that way is you have a definition of it that makes it feel that way. Because all feelings are secondary to belief. You cannot have a feeling about anything of any kind without first defining that thing in some way, shape, or form. If I throw a word at you that you don't know the definition to, you have no idea how to feel about it, do you?
What can I do to dismantle my...
I'm getting there.
Okay.
The idea is you have to get in touch with what that definition is. So, one way, it's not the only way, you can use your imagination to alter this however you wish, but one way is to ask a very pointed question of yourself. When you find yourself in a situation where you are feeling limited, ask yourself, what would I have to believe is true about myself in relation to this situation in order to generate the feeling I'm experiencing? If you are willing to hear the answer, then in some way, shape, or form, the answer will present itself to you about what the belief is. It might come in your thoughts, it might come in your inspirations, it might come in your dreams, it might come in the synchronicity in your life, it may come in a variety of ways. But if you're willing to receive the answer and find out what that definition is, and you're not afraid to find it out, you will find out what that definition is. Now, once you have discovered consciously a definition within you that is actually out of alignment with who you prefer to be, you will instantly recognize two things. All right, three things. You will recognize that it is nonsensical, illogical, and it doesn't belong to you. It came from someone else. Your parents, your friends, your school, your society, what have you. As soon as you identify a belief that isn't yours, that's out of alignment with your vibration, you will instantly see it's illogical, it makes no sense to hold on to it whatsoever. It belongs to someone else who gave it to you that you've been holding on to all this time. And as soon as it appears that way, you'll drop it, unless you have another belief that tells you you should hold on to it for some other reason. And if that's the case, then you need to ask the question again and find out what that belief is. But as soon as you find out what the core belief is supporting all the secondary ones, and you let go of the core belief, all the secondary ones attached to it will also fall away. The only thing that weighs you down is luggage that doesn't belong to you. That's your first clue. If you're feeling weighed down, if you're feeling limited, you are carrying around a definition that someone else gave you that you don't realize you're still carrying around, lugging it around, getting tired. So the idea is to find out, oh, this isn't my luggage. Drop it. Give it back to the person. You don't want to steal their belief. You don't want to be a belief thief. Right?
Right.
So find out what it is, identify the belief, and then once you realize it's not yours, unless you have another rationale for holding on to it, it will dissipate. That's how it works. But first you have to understand that you have bought into these definitions and you're defining these things as mundane. As soon as you give it that definition, that's the only effect you can get out of it. Because again, remember, every situation, are you paying attention?
I'm doing my best.
All right. Every situation, without exception, is fundamentally neutral. There is no built-in meaning to anything. The greatest gift you have all been given in life, I know this sounds funny in your language, is that life is meaningless. It is devoid of automatic meaning. They're just neutral props, neutral circumstances. You have all been designed as the meaning givers in life. You're what gives life meaning. So the meaning you put into a situation is what determines the effect you get out of it. Remember the fourth law, what you put out is what you get back? It's a law. So if you find that you're feeling mundane, you must be defining your relationship to the situation that's happening as mundane. And so the only effect you can get back is a reflection of the mundane. If, however, you understand and choose to buy into the idea that every single thing that appears in your life is there for a positive reason, to serve you, to learn from, to become a more expanded being and remember more of who you are, then you will give it that meaning, that interpretation, that positive energy, and no matter what anyone else's idea or anyone else's intention in that situation may be, the only effect you will experience from that same situation that serves double duty is the positive one based on the meaning you have chosen to give it. So the choice is in your hands. The total control is in your hands. Do you understand this concept?
I understand the concept. I'm particularly inflicted in the area of finances and creativity, if you have anything to
I
share.
am particularly inflicted. Notice the negative definition.
Feels that way.
I know, and what did I say about feeling?
That I need to know why I feel it and get rid of the
You
programming.
need to understand the definition that generates the feeling. I understand it feels that way. I'm telling you why it feels that way. Things don't just automatically feel a certain way. They only feel the way they do because you're defining them that way. So if you don't prefer the feeling of that limitation or that quote-unquote infliction, don't define the circumstance as an infliction. Do you understand?
Yes.
When you use the ideas of negativity, problems, obstacles, limitations, that's what you're going to get. But if you say, all right, here's a situation. It's neutral. It has no meaning, no power over me, nothing. It's a challenge. That's fine. Of course you will have challenges. If you don't have challenges and positive forms of resistance, you don't grow. So the idea is to look at this in a positive way. Oh, there's a situation here where this particular thing is not manifesting. And that's a challenge. How exciting that I am presented with this challenge, because now it's an opportunity to face this challenge in a positive way and expand my understanding and relationship to the idea of abundance and creativity. That's the response that will allow you to have a positive experience in that situation. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But if you sit there and go, well, I'm so limited, I'm so inflicted, I just can't do anything, how can you expect any other kind of an experience other than one that carries infliction, limitation, and lack of creativity? Now, please do understand again that when we talk about the idea of watching your definitions and clarifying your definitions, you really have to be very, very precise. I have now at this point, up to this moment in the dialogue, used very colloquial terms so that you'll understand what we are saying. But many of the ways that we actually said things are not as precise as they could be. Here's how to take it even further. When you say things like, oh, I'm experiencing a lack of abundance, a lack of finance, a lack of creativity, that's not possible. There is no such thing as a lack of trust, a lack of abundance, a lack of creativity, a lack of confidence. There is no such thing. There is, however, an absolute trust in lack, an abundance of lack. You see where we're going? It's not that you lack abundance, it's that you have an abundance of lack because of your belief system. It's not that you lack creativity, it's that you're using your creativity to make it seem like you're not creative, but that's a very creative thing to do. It's analogous to when people on your planet say, well, we only use 10% of our brains. Nonsense! You're using 100% of your brain to make it seem like you're using 10%. That's the difference. And when you start to have more precise definitions about these things in the way we have just described, you will see then that you don't have to struggle and suffer so much, because it's not like you have to learn how to trust. It's not like you have to learn to be abundant. It's not like you have to learn to be creative. You just have to use your trust, your abundance, and your creativity in the direction you prefer instead of in the direction that you don't. It's that simple. You don't have to learn these things. They're automatic. You always trust something to be true. If you didn't, you would have no experience at all. You understand?
Yes.
So, let go of the idea that you are not creative and not abundant. And watch your definitions, because again, I understand what you mean on your planet when you say that there is not necessarily the finance there, but the idea is don't just limit it to the concept of money. Money is all well and good as a symbol of abundance on your planet, but it's not the only one. If someone were to come along and give you a gift, would you turn it down because you didn't, in that sense, pay for it?
No.
Well, that's a form of abundance, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, then why insist on only one form of abundance being necessary to accomplish something when other forms of abundance might actually help you get there quicker? Why shut the door to all other ways abundance could come and all other forms in which it could come by insisting that only one way is valid as your society has taught you? Do you want to really limit your abundance?
No.
Then don't focus on it being only money. Open up to all forms of abundance, and where money is necessary, money will flow. But where other forms of abundance may actually be the path of least resistance, that's what will happen. But your insistence that it can only happen this way will close the door to you ever experiencing it coming through another doorway. Make sense?
Yes.
Is this helping you lighten up a bit?
Yes, very much. Thank
Please
you.
remember, all of you, the true path to enlightenment is to lighten up on yourselves
Yes.
first. You understand?
Yes.
Is this helping you?
Yes.
Do you feel a little bit more abundant, a little bit more creative, a little bit more free to be who you choose to be?
Yes.
Do you feel you can let go of baggage that you don't need to carry around anymore?
Yes.
All right, well, thank you for choosing that. And remember, you are choosing that. It has nothing to do with the fact that we've said it to you. It has everything to do with the fact that you've said it to yourself and that you choose to buy into that instead of something that's out of alignment with the vibration you know is true for you. Make sense?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
No, I get it. I'm pointing out who's way in the back, and you.
Hi, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
My name is Amy.
All right.
I have recently opened a channel.
One moment. Can you all hear her? Speak up.
I have recently opened a channel, and
All right. Congratulations.
thank you.
In what form? Because you all channel from time to time.
Going into trance, similar
all right.
to what you do with Daryl.
You are talking about vocal channeling.
Yes.
Is that exciting for you?
Yes, it is. Well, I'm still learning.
So what? Is it exciting or not?
Yes, it is.
Thank
It's
you.
very exciting.
All right. No reason to hesitate.
Was wondering if you could tell me more about the entity that I have made contact with.
How long have you been doing this?
Just a few months. He approached me.
All right. Have you gotten any kind of a name that begins with an X or a Z or a Y sound?
Alpha.
Alpha, the A sound.
Yes.
All right. The other end of the alphabet.
Yes.
First and foremost, not always, but first and foremost, what is common when you begin that particular kind of practice is you will first connect with other aspects of your own consciousness, your own higher mind, your own guides, so on and so forth. And that will prep you, perhaps, if that is your desire or your agreement, to then work with other kinds of dimensional entities. So you may first be working with other aspects of yourself, thus then by alpha, the idea that it is the first primary step on your journey. The first,
Okay.
shall we say, elevation into your higher mind to become more of your higher self, yes?
Yes.
As you then explore other aspects of your being, other dimensions of your own being, you may find that other names may come that are at the other end of the alphabet in the way that we suggested. It doesn't have to be that way, but it's very common on your planet. The idea then is that, again, if there is an agreement, then other things may come in. But remember, in all cases, when you are making a connection to other beings, it is your energy that is being simply transformed into a mirror image of the vibration of those beings. And thus, then, you are acting as a translation device. Do you understand?
Yes, I
Nobody enters you. Nobody possesses you. There's no such thing as possession because there's no room inside you for anyone but you. You understand?
Yes, I do.
And so the idea is that you're mirroring. You're matching frequencies like tuning forks, locking together. And when you lock, then you translate the same thoughts in the same way at the same time. That's what telepathy is. That's what telepathy is. That's what channeling is you're locking onto a frequency that's representative of the vibration of what you're bringing through. Now, Have you begun to do this for other people?
Not yet.
Why not?
I'm still trying to get the connection right.
I have a secret for you.
Okay.
It'll be easier for you to get the connection when you're actually doing it for other people. Because if you're just doing it for yourself, you're sitting there wondering, is that my thought? Am I making a connection? I'm not sure what's going on. When you are doing it for other people, you're out of the way. The person is asking a question that pulls the information through you like grounding a circuit. Then you just become a conduit. Do you understand?
Yes.
You are not involved in the process of having to wonder what's coming through. You're allowing them, with their question, to pull the information through you. So it's actually easier and more accelerated to actually begin to do it for friends. And all you need to do is get out of your own way and not worry how you sound, not worry how silly you may look, not worry whether the information is accurate, not worry whether it's even gibberish coming through you. That is a stronger way because it's also an indication of your willingness to commit to the idea. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
And that will help accelerate you.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else?
Yes. I'm wondering how many incarnations do I have here on Earth?
Before we answer you, do you understand that all lives exist simultaneously?
Yes, I do.
And therefore, when you say, how many incarnations do I have, what you're actually saying is, how many simultaneous incarnations are happening from the same oversoul that I am also an extension from?
Correct.
You
Yes,
understand?
I do.
And therefore, you're making cross connections to these other incarnations. You're not literally experiencing them one after another.
Correct. I
All right.
understand.
157.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Does that help you?
Yes, it does.
Thank you.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day. Speak up, speak up.
I am an artist. My name is Eugenia Ortiz.
All right.
And I am like that young lady
Speak
that
up,
just
speak up.
passed. I also channel artwork,
All right.
and it has messages from
Of course it does.
the ancient
All
cultures.
informational patterns do.
Right, but I sometimes don't know what all the messages mean.
You may not need to.
Until later, when the people who are looking at them start seeing things like
Yes.
this one is the.
Then it happens in perfect timing, does it not?
Yes.
All right, then what more do you want? That's the way art works. Yes?
Yes.
Information comes to those when they need it best. It serves as a reflection and a mirror to help them realize things going on within them that they can then decide to expand or not. Yes?
Right, and that's part of my destiny here on Earth as well.
Well, obviously, otherwise you would be doing something else.
Exactly.
Unless you're saying that that doesn't excite you, but obviously
No, it
does.
does.
Then that's part of your destiny. That's the hallway you have created to walk down. That's what destiny is. It's where the soul chooses a general theme that you will explore. How you go down that hallway is up to your physical free will. You can walk, run, crawl, backwards, forwards, upside down, sideways, whatever you wish. But the destiny is the theme your soul chose to explore in this life. Obviously, the idea of creative expression in this way and using art as a mirror and a reflection for others is part of that theme of exploration. Of course, it also works for you that way.
Right.
And so?
And so I guess I'm just here to share my artwork with the world and make it
Well,
better.
all right. Well, thank you. Obviously, that's obvious to you and obvious to us. There's no question here.
Yes.
It's just a statement of your truth, and we thank you for the sharing of it.
Yes, thank you. I do have one message for you.
Oh, all right.
Steve Moreau, that used to work with you in the 80s.
Yes.
He sends you love
All
and
right.
love to Isasani.
Our unconditional love as well.
Yes, thank
you.
Hello. I have two questions.
Not at that level, you don't. Speak up, and be bold. They need to hear your questions.
The first question is,
Not much better. Speak up.
how did you find Daryl, or how did Daryl find you?
From the idea, linearly speaking, incarnationally speaking, I am one of the channel's future selves. He is one of my past lives. So we are actually the same soul in that context. In the idea of our civilization making contact with other civilizations, one of the prerequisites for doing so is to have an incarnation in that society in order to absorb the understanding of that world. If I didn't have any experience in another life on your world, we would be too alien to each other to understand each other. So the idea is that I have past lives, one of which is Daryl sitting before you. I am one of his future lives, and we have made this connection in order for there to be cross-communication between the idea of what you call a past life and a future life. Of course, this connection could not happen if both lives didn't actually exist simultaneously. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Anything else?
Yes. What general neighborhood or star system is the Shalaniah from?
I am not allowed to tell you that yet. That
Okay.
will be unveiled at another place at another time. It is not the timing yet to tell you that.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No.
Thank you.
You want them? You back there, and then you.
Hi, Bashar.
Anna, you good day.
Hi, I'm Vivian from Boston.
Oh, all right. Vivian from Boston.
Yes, and I want to say to you that thank you so much for your last lecture in the 2014, the year of reinvention.
Guys,
I feel like I'm totally transformed and doing exactly what my true self wants to do.
oh, well, thank you very
Yes.
much for making that choice. And you will continue to transform.
Yes.
Transformation never ends.
Okay, thank you. And after that lecture, I didn't have a regular vacation like I used to. You know, I wrote a letter on Christmas Day to a religious group that I've been studying their religion
Yes.
about spirituality.
Yes?
Okay, and basically I asked them, maybe Christ showing us at his last moment of his life, that kind of compassion and unconditional love is what we need to do. Is to
Yes.
pray, okay? Because
Well,
this
what is prayer to you?
prayer to me is connecting to the oneness, to the source of creation. From
One
the
more
heart.
time, a little more precisely. Prayer is not connecting to, becoming aware of your connection to.
Okay.
Because you are never disconnected from.
Okay.
And by being in the vibration of awareness of your connection to all that is, then you allow yourself to be in a state of grace, which is another way of saying a state of gratitude for what is here and now, and deep appreciation
Oh,
for
thank
what
you.
is here and now.
Thank you. Thank
Does
you.
that help?
That helped very much. Basically, I basically wrote a letter and said, just maybe, you're following the footstep of Christ, doing a lot of serving people. Maybe we need to look at this last moment. What we really need to do is to have compassion for
Yes.
those darkness. We call
Yes,
them
yes, yes.
darkness,
All
but
right.
they are actually our soul brothers and sisters.
Of course. Now,
Who,
all right, calm down.
okay.
You don't need to get all worked up about it.
Okay.
The idea is to be excited about this, to be in a state of balanced compassion about this. And it's not so much that you need to go around saying, this is what we need to do.
Okay.
You can recognize that this may need to be done, but the point is, just be a living example of it so that others see in you that you have done it. Because if you're not doing it, why should they?
I do.
So the idea is not to tell them that they need to do it, just to do it and be a living example. Because if you're a living example of someone in their true power, believe me, you won't have to tell them a thing. You'll have to beat them off with a stick. They'll want to know how you are so happy. Do you understand?
Yes, I share that.
So
I
you don't need to proselytize, you just need to be an example. This is actually what your Yeshua, your Christ, meant when he said, I am the way. He just meant, be like I am. Be this way.
Yes.
Do you
yes.
understand? That's it. So
yes.
just be this way.
I-
and you will be a living example that they can see in their lives. And
Thank
then you
you.
can share whatever information they ask you to share to teach them how they can also choose to be that way. But if you approach it from the sense of desperation, then it's not really compassion. You understand? So
well,
don't be
I-
desperate about it.
yes, I want
Just
to
be
share-
compassionate.
I want to share with you, I got such tremendous amount of reply,
Yes.
Appreciation,
Yes.
you know, letting me know that it really helped them, it like dawned
All
on
right,
them, so
that's
they start
good.
praying
It's all well
for.
and good. You can make a statement, you can make a declaration of what is true for you. We are just allowing you and others to make sure that when you make such declarations, you understand that it's all about the choice you have made. And it's not about needing anyone else to make the same choice.
Yeah.
Does that help?
That help. I do have a question for you. You know,
Yes.
after I listen to you, instead of like doing things like say, oh, I want to move to Florida just to be away from, I feel Boston is a little bit dense in the energy.
Yeah.
I actually feel like I need to stay in Boston.
Why?
Because I feel from your teaching, you said that when the negative energy is like more the separation is a membrane, it can actually pull the positive moving the other side. I said maybe I should
With
go
negative
in.
beliefs,
Yeah,
yes.
yes. So
Well, it's an issue of deciding for yourself whether you are going to or running from. If going somewhere else is truly a representation of the vibration of your preference, then go to.
yes.
But if you're moving because you're running from, then in that sense, you can never escape that. Does that make sense?
Yes, I feel like I need to go in there. I feel like that's my true self, to raise the vibration, to reduce the negative.
Yet at the same time, remember that when we talk about the idea of acting on your excitement, all the components must also be done in the most exciting way you can imagine. How it is most exciting, where it is most exciting, with whom it is most exciting. Because if you're not allowing all the components to be representative of your excitement, then you're not actually acting on your highest excitement. And that's the only thing others will pick up on, is that you're forcing yourself to be in a vibration you don't prefer.
See, that's where my question is. Even
Yes.
though most people don't prefer that, I just feel like I got tremendous amount of support when I do that.
Yes.
I wrote a letter to
I
President.
understand.
Yeah.
Yet you're the one that said you wanted to go to Florida.
Yes, I was before I went to your class.
Yes.
Before I listened to
So
you.
you're saying that Florida was running away.
I gave up Florida. I just want to stay in Boston.
Are you
after.
staying in Boston because you're excited to stay in Boston?
I think so, but
You
it's.
think so or you know so?
I know so.
Thank you.
But it's more challenging.
Of course it's more
Yes.
challenging, but isn't that more exciting?
Yes, very, very
then
exciting.
there you go.
What I want to share with you is that I decided to come to see you.
Yes.
Okay, the day after I bought my air ticket, I lost my glasses and my key right in front of me. I just
Yes.
like they're just gone.
Yes.
So, but I still say I'm going to go. This
All
is
right.
challenging.
And here you are.
But here I am. Okay, so that's what I want to share with you. I just
Thank you for allowing yourself to realize that there are many, many paths to manifestation, and it doesn't have to be done in the way that you expect.
One last thing I want to share with you is that you're teaching about the cycle of 9. I incorporate that in my meditation. It's been very powerful.
All right. Well, thank you for allowing that permission slip to work for you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hello, my friend.
And you good day.
Let's see if I can ask two brief questions, or perhaps you can answer them fairly briefly because there are
We
more
will see.
behind me. Okay, about 2 years ago, 2 miles from this location, you did another channeling, and someone asked about, for example, transcendental meditation or hypnosis or
Yes. And we talked about
binaural
permission
beats
slips.
and permission slips.
Yes.
Exactly. So why is it that sometimes people have their permission slips and it works in very short periods of time?
Yes.
And other people, it might take 20 or 30 years of practicing with their permission slip
Because it's
and
based
nothing.
on their belief system.
They believe, they seem to believe.
Seem to believe and believing two different things.
Sometimes it happens out of the blue to them.
That's because they have a true belief, a true knowing. The idea is that knowing is above belief. Remember, knowing and action are synonymous. The things you know are true, you just do. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to believe. You don't have to wonder if you believe. You just do it because you know it's true. And there are certain areas of your life that may happen in, where other areas of your life it won't, because people have made a difference between those areas. But the idea is that when something transforms, it's because you believe or know that it can, and thus it does. If it takes longer, then either you believe it must, or it serves you that it does, somehow. That's why we created the permission slip originally that we called the threshold of believability. Do you remember this tool?
Briefly refresh my memory.
Thank you. I will. The idea of the threshold of believability is this. Ask yourself if you believe beyond a shadow of a doubt, without a moment's hesitation whatsoever, that a certain amount of time, let's say 20 years, is more than enough time for the kind of transformation you prefer to occur. If without hesitation at all, even for a microsecond, you can say, oh yes, 20 years, that's more than enough time for that kind of transformation to occur, then lower the amount of time. Is 10 years enough time for that transformation to occur? Oh yes, I believe, no problem whatsoever. I have no shadow of a doubt that 10 years is more than enough time for that kind of transformation to occur. Do you believe 5 years? 5 years, yes, no problem at all. How about 3? Well, maybe. As soon as you hesitate to answer absolutely, instantly, that's how long it will take with your current belief system. Then you go into the belief system and say, what would I have to believe is true in order for it to take that kind of time? Once you find that belief and have let go of that belief, take the test again and see if you can go past that mark. 3 years, not a problem, not an issue. With my new belief system, I can see how easy it would be to transform in that time. 2 years, yes, not a problem. 1 year, as soon as you hesitate again, go in and find the belief system that says it will take that long and see if you can let that go. When you have cleaned out all those beliefs, whatever time is actually left is the time it actually needs to take for you to actually experience what you prefer to experience in that particular transformational experience.
Okay. All right. And next question. Thank you on that.
Yes, you're welcome.
Let's see how I can answer it. I go to a variety of different channelers.
Yes.
And one of the channelers...
Do you go to yourself, too?
Say again?
Do you go to yourself, too? Because you and everyone is also the first and best channeler for yourself. You are always, first and foremost, your own best guide. So when you say you go to a variety of channelers, make sure you do not omit yourself as one of them.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you.
And so?
So you say be the example.
Yes.
So, for example, one of the channelers said, if we want to lose weight,
Yes.
we can practice forgiveness. And
That might be
forgiveness
one way.
is powerful.
That might be one way.
If we want to lose 20 pounds, for example,
Yes,
we
yes.
could practice forgiveness.
Yes.
How would we practice forgiveness for it to be effective?
Because many times when people have physical weight issues, it's because they are literally waiting to be themselves. They're holding on to their energy and afraid to be who they really are because they don't believe they deserve it, they believe they're unworthy. And so when they forgive themselves for having had those negative definitions that have limited them and let those things go through self-forgiveness, then they may no longer wait, they may no longer hesitate. And by flowing the energy of their true selves through them, then they can stop waiting.
Thank you.
And they will lose weight.
Thank
sense?
you. All right.
Does that help?
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. In many cases, you can take advantage of the wonderful synchronicities of your own language in these issues. Wait, wait.
Hello, my name is Robert.
And good day to you.
I must say I'm very happy to hear that business about the weight because I definitely have to work on that myself. So
Oh,
thank
all
you,
right.
Thank you for that advice.
You are welcome.
I
Speak up,
must-
speak up.
I must admit that I am unfamiliar with you. My apprentice only...
What a coincidence. I
Huh?
am unfamiliar with you.
Oh, I just love this guy, don't you? And my apprentice brought me to your attention, or you to my attention,
Yes.
about 3 days ago.
All right.
He couldn't really tell me a great deal about you, but I was wondering if you could. Now, you said that you were in a ship that I believe was geosynchronous above Sonora?
It's
Sedona?
not in a geosynchronous orbit, which would be 22,300 miles above your planet, but it is holding steady above Sedona.
I like that. But my question right now is, well, say for instance, we are here right now.
Yes.
And you are speaking, and you came through kind of like on time. Do you have a work schedule that's, that you have an appointment book, say, for
Nope.
instance?
Nope. Everything with us in our civilization is synchronicity. We always know we will be at the right place at the right time, exactly when we need to be there, not a second before, not a second later.
Well, that must make it nice not to have conflicting events. But I also have another question. Are you, within your societal structure, an ambassador by order or
I am a
by
first
hobby?
contact specialist, yes.
In that within the structure of your society, that's what you, is that your only
It
duty?
is my family lineage. I am also a pilot and an explorer. I am also a sculptor.
Oh, wow. I'd like to see your work, but I'm afraid you can't bring it with you. The next thing I'd like to
Well,
know...
you can see it in your mind if I describe one of the things.
Now?
Yes, if you wish.
Go ahead.
Oh, all right. One of the things I have created as a sculptor is what you would call a double-banded helical spiral out of a type of crystalline nanomaterial, you would probably call it, that actually spirals up from the ground to about a distance you would call 1 mile above the planet. That is one of my sculptures.
A physical sculpture.
A physical sculpture.
I saw something, but probably not as good as what it would be if I were
That's all
accurate.
right. You can think of the idea of a DNA spiral and you'll be close.
Excellent. The next thing I'd like to know is there on your craft a structure of command dynamics, shall we say, that exists? Do you have like a captain or a cook?
The pilots, well, we don't eat anymore, we don't sleep anymore, so we don't need cooks in that sense anymore. We used to eat in that way that you do, but we have evolved beyond that. We're becoming what we call quasi-physical. Nevertheless, we don't really have a hierarchical structure in the way that your planet does, but the idea is that every ship is itself a sentient being. And the idea is that the pilot of the ship, in that sense, is bonded to the ship telepathically. Thus, then, only the pilot can fly it, because only the pilot can communicate with that particular ship, which is, in a sense, a physicalized symbol of the pilot's own higher mind. Does that make sense in your language?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, all right.
Quite well.
This is why, if you were to board one of our ships, you would see the idea of the so-called control console, but it would be completely blank. It would be a whitish crystalline material that would look completely devoid of any controls. That's because in the telepathic connection between the pilot and the ship, the pilot is the only one that can see the controls.
Ah, that makes perfect sense. Well, to me.
Oh, all right. Makes perfect sense to us, too. That's why we do it.
Let's see, where else was I going to go? I'm sorry, you said that your organization was...
Organization.
Well, the
My
title...
civilization in our ancient language, which we no longer really use that much, is called Sasani, meaning place of living light. Sasani being the people.
Okay. I'll have to absorb that. You know, it's going to take me a little while.
But it is in another dimension, a slightly alternate reality from yours, another frequency from yours. But if we were to overlap our physical reality with your physical reality, you would be able to set a course to our world by going about 500 light years in the direction of your constellation of Orion.
Okay.
But you cannot see our star from your reality because we're in a different dimensional plane at a different frequency domain, just as we have to shift to your frequency domain to interact with your reality physically as well.
Yeah, actually, that was rather simple to understand.
Yes.
Now, I have another question.
Yes.
I take it that there are a number of, shall we call them species, races, or whatever, that are looking at us at this particular time.
Yes.
There was one that, again, my apprentice brought to my attention because he's always showing me things and I'm teaching him all kinds of stuff all the time. The galactic, see, now, get up here and I have a senior moment, everything. The Galactic Federation. Have you ever
What
heard of
we
those?
call the Interstellar Alliance, but there are actually many different kinds of alliances, many different kinds of what you might term federations or associations or alliances. So there is actually more than one. We belong to an alliance that has obviously got members, such as ourselves, interacting with you. There are other alliances that have other members interacting with your world to some degree as well.
Well, I'm thinking that I'm getting the impression that we have in your group peoples who are trying to raise the consciousness of our humanity here on the planet. Now, are we looking at the same from just about all the others, or are we...
There are different agendas for different beings, although a large number of the beings that you are aware of have your interests at heart in terms of helping you become more of yourselves, yes.
Oh, I'm very glad to hear that, but I'm kind of worried about the ones that may be out there that don't.
But you see, that's the dichotomy. Because if you spend time focused on the idea of the negative intentions, you actually lock yourself into the frequency where you make it more probable that that's what you will experience. This is why we share with you the ideas. It doesn't really matter what anyone else's intention is. The meaning and the vibration you give to life will determine what you manifest and what you align yourself with, and thus what you experience. So the idea is it's all well and good to be aware that there might be negatively intentioned individuals, but if you start being afraid of it, you actually lock yourself into the same vibration in which they operate, and that makes it more likely you will experience them instead of someone who has your best interests.
Well, thank you very much. That was very good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Again, this is all just vibrational physics. Like vibration to like vibration. You cannot perceive something you are not the vibration of. So if you're of a completely different frequency, then those things that are not compatible with that vibration cannot find you. You are invisible to them.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
My name is Noah.
Oh, all right.
I'm from Israel.
All right. Speak
And
up, speak up.
I would like to know how you see this, the future of this country.
Well, again, remember, there is no such thing as a prediction of the future. There are an infinite number of probable future realities based on where your energy collectively decides to go. And that can be changing every moment. In general, there are certain things that a lot of you have a lot of momentum behind, a lot of energy behind, and therefore they may have a high degree of probability of becoming manifest. In other words, you may have a high degree of probability of shifting to the parallel Earth that already exists that's representative of the shift within you. That's what's actually happening. So when you say the future of the world, it doesn't really make sense to us, because what you're actually doing is never changing the world you're on. You're changing the vibration within yourself and shifting to a parallel Earth that's already representative of the change you made within yourself. The world that you were on still exists and may be going down another path, but you won't be participating that path anymore if you have shifted to a reality that is of a different vibration. Does that make sense? Yes. First of all, the idea, however, is to answer your question more directly, is that in the way you perceive the future to exist, which is again only another version of the now, the idea is that you have a lot of momentum behind certain things, one of which is the idea of transformation, one of which is the idea of contact with other civilizations, and that's why we can say with a higher degree of probability that it seems likely, highly probable, that sometime between your year of 2025 and 2033, somewhere in there, you have a high degree of probability of actually finally having open contact with extraterrestrial civilizations on your planet, which will mean you have achieved a degree of shifting to a vibration that will make that more likely. But that's only because you have a high degree of energy momentum behind that particular probability that we can even say that that window even exists. In other words, to put it more simply, if that wasn't the case, it's likely we wouldn't be having this conversation. Make sense? Because this is a first contact scenario. One of the ways in which we make first contact with civilizations is to have these dialogues, have these discussions, share information. And we use the rate at which you take this information to heart and make it your own and change yourselves. We use that as a barometer for when you're ready for more contact.
Okay.
Because we're never going to force ourselves on you. You have to be the ones to decide that you're actually ready. And I know many of you think you are, but you're not. So relax. The timing is what it is.
Okay.
So the idea is, again, obviously you're having contact now. And that will be part of what you call the future of your world.
I meant the conflicts with in the Middle East.
As I said, the idea is that you have a lot of momentum behind certain things. You can resolve them in certain ways. It is, after all, your planet, is it not?
Right.
Well, then the idea is to put out there with love and compassion actions that are representative of that transformational idea. Start sharing the ideas of self-empowerment. The only reason that conflicts exist on your planet is because people feel disempowered. They've been taught to believe they have no power. They've been taught to believe they're disconnected from source, which isn't possible. And so anyone that feels disconnected from source, disconnected from their power, will feel powerless, will feel out of control, will feel alone, will feel like a victim, will feel miserable. And if they have no connection or no idea of their connection to their own inner power or to source, then the only way they can imagine gaining power is to manipulate the external reality and force others to see things their way. Remember, you have a saying on your planet, misery loves company. It takes a victim to make a victim. So the idea is that when you see people perpetrating what you would call negative acts on others and creating conflicts around your world, those people believe they are victims and they are acting out and lashing out because they want to create as many victims as they can so they won't be alone. So they will feel connected. But you can teach them by example that they can connect in another way. You can teach them that the idea of having to force yourself on someone actually means you don't believe in the power of what you believe in. Because if you did, you would realize that the greatest power of all requires the gentlest touch. Because if it's truly powerful, it doesn't have to exert itself at all. Look at the idea of what you call creation, all that is, God. It is so powerful, so all-pervasive, you actually can believe it doesn't exist. That's how light a touch it has. Because it doesn't need to have a broader touch than that. Because it doesn't need to, because it is everything that exists. So what power does it need to exert over itself? None. So the idea is that when you teach people that they are aspects, they are projections, they are versions of all that is, of creation itself, they are self-empowered as beings, they will not need to foist their ideas on anyone, and there will be no conflict in that way. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Does that help you?
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you for applauding yourselves.
Okay, hi.
And to you, good day.
So you said that you no longer speak your
Speak up, speak up, speak up.
So you said you no longer use your language on your civilization?
We can if we wish, but it is, on our world, not always necessary. We can use it to sing or do different things, but the idea is that we are telepathically and synchronistically connected. So if you were to come to our world and you would be in the midst of a group of people, it would actually be incredibly silent.
So how do you separate, like how do you communicate individually? Like does it all come at once or is it, how do I?
Again, the idea is that it's telepathy. It's like people being in love. If you're in love with someone, don't you know what they're thinking at the same time?
Sometimes, yeah.
Well, that's an example of what happens in our world all the time. Moment to moment to moment to moment to moment. We are always exactly where we need to be, when we need to be there, with whom we need to be, because we are all on the wavelength we need to be on, and those of similar wavelengths will know exactly what we're thinking and where we are, and will be there if there is need for them to be so. Make sense?
Yeah. And so is that kind of how the ship and
Yes.
you?
Synchronicity is one of the symptoms of the shift into fourth density. The idea is to elevate synchronicity to the level of an art. Make sense?
Yes.
That's what we have done.
So is it possible? Well, I guess it's possible, but
Anything
so how,
is possible. The question is never, is it possible?
Right.
The question is it relevant?
So
is it probable?
is it relevant and probable for us to start practicing telepathy?
Absolutely.
Do you have
Otherwise,
any-
you probably wouldn't have asked the question.
Do you have any tips on how to
I
practice
already
that?
gave you the biggest clue I could, didn't I?
Yes.
Be in love
Okay.
with life. Yes?
Yes.
When you're in love with all that is, you will be telepathic where and when you need to.
Awesome.
Yes?
Yes, thank you.
Does that help you?
Yes.
And it isn't just awesome in the sense that there is some awe, it is full of awe, which makes it awful.
Awesome.
Just to
Thank
play
you.
with your language a bit. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Anything else?
No.
Thank you.
Hey, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
It's good to see you again.
Well, you're not really seeing me, but I understand the sentiment. Thank you.
Okay. Well, the last time we talked about...
Speak up, speak up.
The last time we talked about was Angkor Wat, and you mentioned when, and you didn't mention when, but could you tell me when it was built? The Angkor Wat building was built.
Your words are not translating. Repeat your statement.
When was the Angkor Wat built?
Angkor Wat.
Angkor Wat Temple.
You will find that construction was begun somewhere around the idea of 10,500 BC.
What was its purpose?
The idea of many of those things is to act as capacitors and energy generators for the idea of allowing people to get into a certain state that allows them to explore and express more of themselves.
Was life force energy ever used?
Life force energy exists in all of you. So of course it was used. Is that the way you meant that?
Yeah.
How can you not use life force energy?
It's everywhere, yeah. Let me see.
Are you
also,
asking if life force energy was amplified by the structure?
Yes.
Yes.
How so? Is it
By
by
the proportions.
the material, the minerals?
The material to some degree, but mostly the proportions. Because many of these ideas of temples and structures on your planet are built to what you call golden mean proportions. And that is the mathematical structure of how physical reality lays itself out. So when you build things with those kinds of proportions, you will then cause resonance to happen in certain ways that will build the energy up and amplify it to the purpose that the structure has been built for.
Was the whole temple made out of sea minerals, sandstone?
Not completely, but mostly, yes.
Okay.
But again, it will depend upon what's available in the area. Adjustments may be made for the kind of material that needs to be used.
Was it ever used for metaphysical restoration?
What are you defining as metaphysical restoration?
Healing.
Yes.
Was it also used to activate the pineal gland?
Yes. In fact, activating the pineal gland or aligning the pineal gland activation is one of the strongest things that a lot of such temples were used for on your planet in your history. Because it was understood that pineal gland activation at certain frequencies allows you to actually commune with other dimensions very clearly.
So you're saying people that were depressed, having cancer, they would go to these temples
Yes.
and be cured from...
Yes, they would cure themselves
I see.
by allowing themselves to align with the vibration that was amplified in that temple. Now, sometimes the idea of the priests would allow themselves to also give off that frequency to create a resonance atmosphere, a resonance bubble, that if the person to be healed then allowed themselves to match that frequency, then they would heal themselves, yes. They would align themselves.
You mentioned before that the temple was made by the Khmer civilization, am I correct?
Yes, but I said that you don't really understand exactly what the Khmer civilization was.
Is Khmer pronounced today as Khmer in the Cambodian language?
You can ask a Cambodian.
Okay. You also mentioned that people were trained to raise their vibration and
As you are training yourselves right now.
to perceive architecture's proportions and dynamics. How so?
In a variety of ways. Do you have an interest in the idea of proportions and the resonant dynamics that attend those ideas of proportion?
Like the type of vibrational atmosphere that they had. Can you describe how it was?
It cannot really be described, it must be experienced. So if you will build a chamber out of whatever materials you are attracted to in the appropriate proportions that are representative of those golden means, you will have the experience yourself of what those vibrational resonances are like.
Okay.
If that is exciting to you.
Were the Khmer civilization had any connections to Atlantis or Sirius?
Both, to some degree.
Okay.
But also to what you would call Lemuria in ancient times. Or really, in their own language, Mu.
Mu.
Yes, Mu. Lemuria is a term that comes later in your history. It's not what they called themselves. They called themselves Mu.
I see. Were the Khmer civilization survivors of Atlantis?
There was some influx, but not as much. The idea, really, of the Atlantean spread was mostly to what you know as the North and South and Central Americas, and also to the idea of the Northern Africa, Mediterranean, and European theater. Eventually, some of the influence made its way across the Asian continents, but more it is the idea of a Muan connection. Does that help you?
Yes.
All right. Anything else?
Yes. I recently showed you the cube
Yes.
before. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Well, you said it had connections to Sirius.
Yes.
I do practice these seashells
Yes.
on other people, and recently I had a person seeing a blue star.
Yes. Well,
Wait.
that's the vibrational color of Sirius.
I see.
The blue-white star.
He was also seeing an image of a lizard. Could you tell me more on that?
The idea is not exactly what you would call a lizard. There is a physical species that inhabits that system along with the non-physical consciousness that also is connected to that system. The physical species that inhabits that system that has visited your Earth in the past is a type of amphibious being, a little bit more closely resembling the idea of a salamander more than a lizard, but not exactly that either. So they had a slight interpretive difference in their perception of the being, but they were somewhat close. But it's not the idea of the reptilians that people are talking about on your planet.
I see. He also saw a reptoid. Could you?
No, I will not comment on that.
Okay. Also, there was other people, including myself, seeing formulas from when using the cube.
All right. So how do you wish to use that information? How do you wish to apply it in your physical reality?
Could you tell me more on these formulas?
No. You have to be the one to discover these things. This is your process. I'm not going to open your presents for you.
Are those
You
formulas?
must follow your excitement and your imagination and see where it leads. You must make your discoveries. It's your process.
I see.
We have already given you some information regarding the idea of clues that lead to resonant chambers that are certain proportions based on the idea of certain golden proportions. That's our clue. That's what we're allowed to give you. You must move forward and take that to whatever degree your imagination desires to discover the rest of the information regarding these formulas. All right?
All right.
Then thank you.
Thank you.
There will be a brief amount of time remaining for this transmission.
Hello, Bashar.
And a you good day.
Thank you for everything. You've been
Thank you
great-
as well.
Great inspiration over the years. Couple of questions.
Yes.
You touched on the art of synchronicity
Yes.
earlier, and I guess got my mind and brain going. Is that kind of trying to?
Nothing is about trying.
Okay. Then, if you are synchronized with
Yes.
everything,
Which you always are, when we talk about the art of synchronicity, we're not saying you're not already experiencing synchronicity. The idea is to allow yourself to experience synchronicity in a particular way that is resonant and representative of the vibration you prefer. Everything is synchronicity. Because everything is one thing. Therefore, synchronicity is physical reality's way of showing you that everything is connected as one thing. It's up to you to utilize the nature and the structure of that idea of synchronicity in the way that is representative of your joy and your excitement and your preferred vibration in life. That's what we mean by using synchronicity as an art.
And at a higher level of synchronicity, a higher level of this art, would you then be able to kind of know your future, your outcome?
No.
No.
Because again, the idea is the whole formula, yes? The whole formula, act on your highest excitement to the best of your ability, taking it as far as you can until you can take it no further, with zero insistence on the outcome.
Right.
Zero.
Right.
Then you allow yourself to simply experience the outcome, knowing that whatever the outcome is what it needs to be at that moment.
Excellent.
Yes? Because again, remember, your physical mind does not have the ability to actually know how something is going to happen. It's not designed to know that. Only your higher mind is. So the idea of visualization is all well and good, and you can have a visualization of what you would represent an outcome to be that is representative of a high outcome, a high vibrational outcome. But the visualization is only a symbol to get you into the state of being that is representative of the appropriate outcome. Once you have the state of being, once you have that excited energy about the so-called outcome, you have to let the visualization go and let your higher mind actually bring you the manifestation that is truly representative of the state of being that the symbolic visualization generated within you. That's how visualization works. You don't insist on the picture in the physical mind, because that may actually be limiting a better outcome, a more imaginative, more expansive and creative outcome that the higher mind could bring you. Make sense?
Makes sense. Excellent. Thank you.
Does that help?
That helps. I have one other question.
Yes.
Kind of not relevant to this last question.
That's
but,
all right. Speak up, speak up.
You may have this have already been asked, but
I will
just
let
in
you
case,
know.
I was wondering if you could describe the physicality of the beings, of your
Yes.
physical beings.
We are what you would call hybrid beings. We are on average about 5 feet of your height. We are relatively slender. Our skin is very pale, whitish. The idea is that our eyes are slightly larger than yours. Our noses, mouths, and ears are slightly smaller. Our heads are slightly larger. In that sense, do you understand this description?
Yes. Do you have hair?
I do not. Males do not. Females do. It tends to be white. There are exceptions.
Excellent. Thank you.
Is that sufficient?
Very much so. Thank you.
Then we thank you. And we will, at this timing, extend our deep appreciation to you all once again for the co-creation of this interaction and the allowance of this transmission. Please remember that when you talk about the idea of a cosmic awakening, that you are simply awakening into more remembrance of more of who you truly are, because you are the cosmos. You are all that is. And you are simply allowing yourself to awaken into more of who you are, and allowing yourself to recognize yourselves as cosmic beings, because that is who you are. So we thank you, our unconditional love to you all. We bid you all an exciting, creative, and synchronous good day. How did it go? Thank you all very much for being here. I appreciate it and look forward to seeing you again. Thanks and have a good day. Welcome. Okay, Eric is telling me that there is a little bit more time. If anyone has any questions for me about this process or anything, I'd be happy to answer them in the time remaining. Obviously, Bashar ended this at this hour for some reason, so. Do you want to do it here? That's fine.
Hi, how are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. My question is, does love and positivity together can be used as a solution every time and for everything and everywhere?
This is a good Bashar question. I would say yes. I know from what he's taught, again, the idea is that everything is fundamentally neutral. And if you give everything that happens in your life a positive meaning, even if you don't understand how it could serve it that way, then you will see that it actually has a positive reason for being there. But you can't see that it has a positive reason for being there if you give it a negative meaning. You can only see positive things if you're of a positive vibration. You can only see negative things if you're a negative vibration. It's kind of like the idea of inspiration. If you're not in a positive wavelength, when you're looking for a solution to something, if you're not in a positive wavelength, you're actually not capable of actually seeing opportunities and inspirations that could be right in front of your face. They won't be visible to you. But if you're of a positive wavelength, then you'll see them and you'll be able to act on them. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
Welcome, sure. Anyone else have a question for me? Yeah. Yeah, for me. Because Bashar's not here anymore, so. Yeah, go to the mic, sure. The 5 laws are: you exist, everything is here and now, the one is all, the all are one. That's the 3rd one. What you put out is what you get back, and everything changes but the first 4 laws. Everything changes but the first 4 laws.
As I had confessed to Bashir,
Bashar.
Bashar. And by the way, who gave you that name, by the way?
This happened to me. I took a channeling class, not because I thought it was going to be a channel. I was just doing research into channeling. But it was a series of guided meditations. And in one of the meditations, what I describe as a telepathic hit came in, and a memory came back of having made an agreement to do this. I had a UFO sighting that led me up to it. I understood in that moment that the UFO was his ship shown to me to get me to start learning this stuff. And in that one moment, the word Bashar was there. Now, I thought it was his name. He explained later that in their society, they're telepathic, they don't need names. He knew we needed to call him something, and so that word was there. I have since understood that part of the reason that word was chosen is because it's an Arabic word. I don't speak Arabic, but part of my background is Arabic. And the word, even though it's not his name, is representative of what he does. I was actually told a couple of years after I started channeling that the word Bashar means messenger or bringer of good news in Arabic. So it's representative of what he's doing, even though it's not literally his name, but I had no idea what the word was. I just thought it was his name, but that's where it came from.
Sounds psychic, just pretty much everything I was about to ask you.
Okay.
Since you rolled over me with such a big tire, and when did you start doing this?
I've been doing this for 30 years.
Oh, you're a youngster.
I'm a youngster, yeah.
Oh, I see.
I've been doing this for 30 years.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. Is there something in your near future? Are you going to stay in the same venue? Have you gone through, say, I've been studying esoterics for over 40 years, and I found that I have gone through, say, like the tide goes in, it goes out. I find myself leaning one particular way, and then after another decade, I find out, well, maybe, no, I needed to learn more along the way, and now
sure,
I'm someplace else.
There's a lot of that, but the information coming from him to me is extremely consistent and extremely simple in its description of how reality works. So I've just sort of found that as a human, while I may not always have been able on that path to always apply it as fully as I'd like, when I do, it works. So the more I apply it, the more practice I have in applying it, the better my life gets, and so I keep doing it. That's sort of how my path has gone.
I was going to go with the 5-year, where do you see yourself question. But
in 5 years, no clue.
I appreciate your
No
honesty.
idea. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, come on up. Hi.
This is very exciting.
Good.
Thank you for being here.
Sure.
It's weird seeing you in person because your videos.
I know. I'm just supposed to be the telephone normally. Yeah.
And I will advocate saying that your DVD or your video, your
Julie
movie.
Departed?
Thank you.
Oh.
Amazing.
Oh,
so
thank you.
it's such a good depiction of something you don't really understand very well. So
Thanks.
thank you. I had just right now I realized how does it work with you and Bashar as far as like obviously you knew you were going to be here today. You knew that you
Sure.
had you were going to channel. Do you kind of like request like, hey Bashar, do you mind coming and like is it kind of like that kind of a thing, or does he just know if you commit to channeling, you're
more
doing
like
it?
It's more like that. I have sometimes gotten a sense if somebody's asked me to do a channeling at a certain time.
Right.
On very rare occasions, I'll get it's not appropriate,
Okay.
and I'll say no. That almost never happens because
Okay.
also I think what people need to realize is time for him is not what it is for us. He's very flexible in space-time. Their civilization is very malleable with regard to how they relate to space and time. He may have already had this conversation. He may have yet to have this
Right.
conversation. He just sends the information in one telepathic smack.
Right.
It unfolds in time, in translation, as it needs to in our reality. So the conversation for him may have been done, and I'm on to other stuff. And then
Right.
it just comes through my brain and my body at the pace that it has to come.
Which is like right
to
now
get.
there's 30 minutes left, but it's not like he doesn't need that extra time. He got whatever
No.
is needed to be done.
He sensed that you got what you needed
Right.
at this particular
felt
moment.
that.
Yeah, and that he would let that information sink in, and he'll give more information at another time.
Okay. Do you know the moment or the time period when a soul enters the body? I'm pregnant, so of course it's a question I want to ask. But like, when does it? Is it when they are born, or is it before?
Bashar has talked about the idea of the soul connection to the fetus.
Okay.
And he has basically said that the only real definitive demarcation that could be used might be the idea of 49 days. 49 days is when the pineal gland can actually express the idea of the soul. Before that, it cannot.
Okay.
So he has said if you want a demarcation, you can use that. But he also at the same time really says when you stop and really understand how reality is, the idea that the soul is in the body is a perspective of physical reality. From his perspective, it's actually more like the body is in the soul.
Right.
Because the soul is a higher being generating a focus that we call physical reality. So in a sense, the soul is always there. But in terms of its ability to express itself through a physical person the way it usually does,
Right.
it
Like
takes
awareness of being in a body or kind
awareness
of,
of self and things like that. It usually takes 49 days for the pineal gland to form, which is the seat of consciousness expression in the brain. And therefore, he's saying 49 days is kind of the demarcation line for what we would think of as the true connection. However, he's also said that up to 3 years old, speaking
Right.
normally, the spirit can come and go.
Right.
It's not locked into the body. And that's sometimes why you experience crib death, things like that.
Right.
Because the soul goes, I'm only sticking my toe in the water.
Right.
I don't need to be here that long. And so it takes advantage of the fact that it's not actually completely yet acclimatized
Right.
to the physical reality. And if it only needs to experience a year,
That's what it is.
That's
well, like
what
I'm
experience
sure
is.
you're familiar with Anelia Benz, and I think she said in one of her talks that she had to be kind of like coerced, I guess, or like her mom had maybe an abortion a couple times, and she still was like hell bent on coming. And obviously, she's a very strong, amazing soul. But there was like there's a lot of stories where the soul's like, no, I don't want to come in. So they're not really
Yeah, I
connected
mean,
to the.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
I think, the idea is to really sort of lighten up on the whole idea that, the timing of all those things is done by agreement and arrangement, and a soul will know if a fetus is not going to come to term for
Right.
one reason or another, because again, that's all the experience it needs, or it's doing that for the mother for some reason,
Right.
and it's willing to play along. From the soul perspective, the soul knows that we're eternal, infinite beings. So it's not like anything is really being destroyed. It's not like the being is not still there. It's not like the being can't come back again. It's, there's all these different agreements, arrangements, things that happen. And what people get out of those experiences is usually what the purpose of having the experience happen that way was for.
Totally makes sense. And my last question, how do you handle, or better, I guess, I forget how to word it, handle, having a partner who's not as awakened as you are and kind of doesn't understand you awakening and makes you sometimes feel like you're a little weird? Like my husband's just like, he's just a normal guy, great guy, awesome guy.
That's fine.
But this is woohoo, no. Like,
Well,
how do
it's,
I?
you know, I'll put it this way. People don't have to be metaphysical to be living their life purpose.
Right.
They don't have to know anything about metaphysics to be on their path. If
Uh-huh.
that's the way that makes them happy, then that's their path.
Okay.
I'm going to share a story if I can. My wife has a story
Please.
about with her sister that, you know, at a certain point you want to share the idea of the metaphysics you're discovering with
Of
your
course.
family and stuff. And like what you're saying about, you know, the sister was, you know, literally at one point in the conversation, it was almost like the higher self of the sister suddenly appeared in the body and it's like, don't you understand? I can't know this now. And backed away.
Oh.
And it was like, okay, your timing is your timing, your purpose is your purpose. You
Wow.
can't force that on a soul if that's not its path.
Got it.
So, yes, it's great to share it with people. Yes, if you find that there is a true vibrational incompatibility
Right.
there, if you're not being allowed to be who you are,
No.
you know, then you may have to think, well, okay, maybe this person doesn't, you know, belong in my life. But if it's just a matter of somebody doing something differently, but they're still in the relationship
Mhm.
for what Bashar describes as the purpose of all relationships, which is every person is in the relationship to reflect to one another
Right.
what the other person needs to know to become more of themselves. So as long as you're supporting yourselves in that way,
Uh-huh.
he doesn't have to know squat about metaphysics to still be doing what he needs to do for you and for you to be getting
And
out
he's
of the
growing. It
relationship.
just it's a very slow pace. Like
It
I can
doesn't
I can
matter.
say what you said. I just can't say, oh, it's channeled or you know like that's,
Well, that's
all
okay.
weird.
I mean, look what happens in corporate industries. You know,
Right.
you can go now on you know, a self-discovery weekend, or you can have like an
Right.
efficiency group. You know, it's meditation. It's the same thing. It
Right.
doesn't matter. It's just using the language that people can key into,
Mhm.
because many people are doing many metaphysical things. They
Right.
just don't call them that.
And I think
they
many
don't
of it,
need to.
it's becoming more mainstream. So as
Yeah.
it does, more and more people will become
Sure.
integrated.
Sure,
Thank you
absolutely.
for everything
I mean,
you do.
And that's, I mean, this is one of the things, you know, right now what we're working on, we're in the middle of editing, is we're actually doing a Bashar documentary. And the
I heard about
documentary
that.
is also about how I became a channel, but it's mostly also about demystifying things like that,
Right.
because everyone does channel. It's a natural altered state. One of the things that I'm really excited about that we did in the documentary, which is called First Contact, is I went into the channeling state with my head wired to an EEG machine. We wanted to see what's happening in the brain during a channeling.
Mhm.
We got some incredibly profound differences between my normal waking state and the channeling state. So it doesn't prove that Bashar is real, but what it does scientifically demonstrate is the channeling state is natural. It is representative of the kind of peak performance state that we all get into when we're doing something we love to do. It's a profoundly different state than your normal state. You have a higher capacity to synthesize and produce information. And that just demonstrates that the channeling state is real. So there's hard scientific evidence that the state is real. Nobody has to believe that Bashar is real to take advantage of the fact that the state is real
Right.
and can deliver interesting things.
Right, and you say that all the time. Like, who
Yeah.
cares about that? Just listen to the message.
I can't
which-
prove that Bashar is real. That's not the point of the channeling.
Yeah.
The point is the information. If the information works for you, use it. If it doesn't, you'll find what you need somewhere else, I have no doubt.
Thank you. Thank you for being bold enough to share your truth. I appreciate it.
I
Thank
just
you.
had, I guess, a capacity for not caring if anyone thought I was crazy.
I'm working on that. Thank you.
So that's kind of
Thanks.
what it takes. Thanks. How are we doing on time? 15 minutes? Yeah. You want to come up? You. Yeah, I'm pointing at you. Yeah, you. You there. That's okay. Yeah.
So, with the role that you're in channeling Bashar, what is your understanding of why that's coming through at this time?
I would
And-
think that's kind of obvious.
Well,
We're all exploring these kinds of
so
things
we're
now.
exploring this now, and I guess there's this belief that we're, as humanity, undergoing a transformation.
Sure. Well, that sends out a signal.
Okay.
It sends out an invitation for anything of like mind, like vibration. So in a sense, Bashar is saying, I'm answering an invitation that you sent. You want to know these things. You want to interact with beings like us.
Through all this, why can't you know? You talk about
because you can't experience the process of creation anywhere but in space and time.
Okay.
I don't know if Bashar covered this, but the idea is that physical reality experience, you can accelerate your growth very rapidly because you're actually creating a challenge that forces you to stretch. Bashar kind of describes this as, he calls this the watermelon seed theory. You know, if you take a watermelon seed and you squeeze it between your fingers, if you squeeze hard enough, the seed can't go up, it can't go down. It's got to spit out in a new direction.
Yeah.
So the idea from Bashar's perspective is there is such a thing as positive resistance, positive creative pressure. And by putting ourselves in a physical pressure cooker, we are forcing ourselves to look at things from a new perspective and to leap in directions that we might otherwise not have gone in. I mean, if somebody had told me even 29, or 31 years ago, I'd be a channel for the next 30 years, I would have thought they were crazy. But just by following the events that happened in my life and acting on my excitement, this is what happened. So and there have been great challenges in it, and especially just for the idea of getting out of my own way, learning how to balance my own emotionality, letting go of issues that have nothing to do with me anymore, not taking things personally. All of that has been challenging, but the point of going into this is it's not just about delivering information to others, it's also about learning who I am. So it works both ways. So really the simple answer is, this is sort of all happening, and I'm really glad other people can take advantage of it, but the only reason I'm doing this is because this excites me. And as Bashar has said, there's no such thing as a one-sided coin. If you have the head, the tail has to be there. So if you have a gift to give, there will be people who want to receive that gift. If there were no people to receive that gift, you wouldn't be excited about doing that thing. So I just learned that just by being excited about doing this, there would be people who would also benefit from it besides myself. So it's just a natural result of acting on my excitement. It's not like I started out thinking it's like I have to deliver information to the world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that's what happened because it's just a natural result of me acting on my excitement.
I mean, obviously, we all want to be here. We all want to be doing this and having this experience.
Yeah.
And maybe for me, what would be helpful is, I guess, because sometimes I wish I could just, you
Is
talk
this
about
another
permission
way of
slips.
saying that there's something you want to do that you're hesitating to do?
I don't know if I want to have this experience anymore sometimes.
What experience?
This
The physical experience?
life. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to give you the same test that Bashar has given other people. Lie down.
Lie down.
Lie down. No, I'm not. Lie down. Okay. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath, close your eyes, and relax. Okay. Now, say out loud, I'm ready to leave.
I'm ready to leave.
Now, count to 10 in your head. And after you've counted to 10, if you can open your eyes, open them. If you had been ready to leave, you would have left. It's that simple. The idea really is our timing is chosen for our own reasons. So if you haven't left, you want to be here, you just don't know why yet. So you just need to find out why. And that is easily found out, more easily found out, when you just keep acting on your highest joy every moment without any worry about where it's leading you. You will discover why you're here. So if you were ready to leave, you'd be gone. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Okay? So we're all glad you're here. Yeah. Yeah. No, it was done by a private person who is trained in brain research. Maybe someday we will, but she's trained in brain research and she's quite competent at that. I think we're going to kind of need to wrap things up. So, oh, is this a question?
Yeah, sort of.
Oh, okay, real quick.
Yeah. Little conflict with some of your ET contactee brethren. Maybe you can help explain why this is happening. Here's the backstory
All
here.
right, this might be a better question for Bashar, but go ahead.
Okay, Andromeda Council contactee Tolek did a video on his YouTube channel talking about how Comet Ison was a biosphere known as Xantrax, and the higher dimensional ETs on the Andromeda Council were coming to Earth as part of that ascension process into 4D Earth. However, two friends of Tolek who were also ET contactees, Silverleech and contactee Tanath, and Sunfire, who is a contactee of the Galactic Federation of Planets, insist that Comet Ison was actually under the control of malevolent reptilian aliens, and they also expressed grave concern that Tolek had been captured by malevolent
Shall I
forces.
tell you what Bashar said about Comet Ison?
Yeah.
He said Comet Ison is a fucking comet. Get over it.
Wow. Now the whole thing's a lot more complicated.
Thank you, guys. Let's say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? All right. Thank you. First and foremost, once again, we thank you for the co-creation of this interaction and the allowance of this transmission in this way. We will begin this transmission by reciting the idea of the title 2014, the year of reinvention. We have an opportunity to truly align with the energies of this upcoming orbit, to really apply the tools we have been sharing with you for 30 of your years in clear, precise, concise ways, in powerful ways, and thus then truly allow easier paths of reinventing yourself by clarifying who it is you truly prefer to be and getting in alignment with the accelerated energy. The idea we had discussed previously in your year of 2012 is that we use the analogy that 2012, the winter solstice then, in that sense, was the splitting prism. We likened it to the idea in your imagination of a train station in which many trains were sitting on many tracks side by side, but were going to leave the station. And as they left the station and moved out of the station on their tracks, that bit by bit the tracks would become farther and farther and farther and farther apart, so that all the trains would be going ultimately in a variety of different directions. This was an analogy for the idea that every single train represents a different reality experience, a different parallel version of Earth. And that as they left the station, the tracks would still be relatively close together, so that it would give you an opportunity. If you were on a train you really decided you didn't prefer to be on, you still could jump off and jump on another train, because they were all still very close together and all still moving very, very slowly. And eventually, as these trains and tracks diverged, you would realize that the parallel reality differences would eventually become so great that it would be more and more and more difficult, more unlikely, shall we say, less probable that would be able to move from one train to another. As the tracks became so far apart, it would be unlikely you would ever find a train and a parallel reality that had nothing to do with the vibration of the train you were on. And that's why it was so important to make sure that you were on the train you really preferred to be on, so that you could remain on that train and experience the parallel reality version of Earth you really, truly preferred, that was in highest alignment with your highest excitement. Thus then, continuing that understanding, that analogy, we will now say that in your year of 2013, obviously the tracks are getting a little bit farther apart, the trains are moving just a little bit faster. You could liken the idea to what you might call a casual walk. So you can still get off the train, you can still walk alongside the train, and it is still very easy for you to get on the train you truly prefer to be on. 2014 will see a little bit of an acceleration. As the energy progresses, as the energy accelerates, and as the tracks widen, you will find that in 2014, in order to match the speed of the train you prefer, you will have to be going at what you might call a brisk walk. In 2015, you may find that you're going to need to jog to keep up with the train. In 2016, you may have to go at a little bit of a slow run. In 2017, you may have to be running pretty briskly. In 2018, you may find that you're going to be sprinting. In 2019, you are going to be at the fastest pace you can maintain. And by 2020, if you're not on that train, you're going to see that train disappearing over the horizon very quickly. So the idea is to get on the train you really prefer to be on now and not wait until the vibration is so far ahead of you of the reality you prefer that it's going to require a great deal of effort, a great deal of struggle, a great deal of pain in order to catch up to that train. Or perhaps even that you will have allowed yourself to not catch up to the train at all. None of this is said in any way, shape, or form to scare you. None of it is said in any way, shape, or form to imply the idea of a negative experience, but just to really let you know that you're the ones who have decided to accelerate things. This is what you've said you prefer. You want things to speed up. You want to experience greater manifestation much sooner of the things you prefer in your reality. And so we give you this analogy so that you can understand how to pace yourself and to be on the train, to be in the parallel reality vibration, to be in the state of being, to act on your excitement sooner than later. Because again, if you truly prefer acceleration, then you can understand that certain groups in the consensus are going to speed up. And if you want to be part of the group that's speeding up, it's very important to have clarity in your definitions now, to really, really act with conviction and boldness on the things that excite you now, to use all the tools we have shared with you very cleanly and very clearly now, and really move forward in your lives and reinvent yourselves in the way that you prefer to. Along the line of this reinvention idea, many of you have been holding on to certain dreams, certain things you say would excite you, certain things you're passionate about, but you have been holding back. You have been resisting the idea of your natural self. You have been scared or afraid to move forward in certain directions for one reason or another, for one rationalization or another that your society has allowed you to buy into. The idea being that you believe, more often than not, that you're either unworthy of what it is that you prefer, or you don't believe that what you prefer can support you in life in an abundant way, or any number of other excuses, ideas, and rationalizations that your society has filled you with that you are now realizing you no longer require, that you no longer prefer. It is really time to stop dropping the baggage that doesn't belong to you, that you may have picked up along the way from your parents, from your teaching, from your society, from whomever. Because really, the idea of resistance, the idea of feeling that inertia, that sluggishness, that idea of not being able to move forward and reinvent yourself in the way you prefer, that only comes, and it is a telling sign that you must be dragging around beliefs and definitions that really are not yours. Because the definitions and the beliefs that really belong to you don't weigh anything. They don't weigh you down. You feel light as a feather. As we said in the last transmission, if the thing that you say you're passionate about, if the idea of your excitement in whatever form it comes in, isn't something that you're rushing headlong towards, if it's not absolutely blowing you away and bowling you over and making you ecstatic and nothing holding you back to act on those things that excite you, then something is filtering that excitement to not make it seem as powerful as it could seem. And those things can only be definitions that you're buying into that have nothing to do with who you prefer to be. So the year of reinvention is really the time to get down, as you say in your language, to brass tacks. Really take an inventory of two things. The ideas and the tools we have shared with you, the statements of clarifications of definitions, and really start to learn to really use these tools, and really also make a list of the things you say you prefer that you have not yet acted on, and also, along with that, a list of the things that hold you back, a list of your fears, a list of the negative definitions you may have bought into. It's time to really do some deep investigation and some honest investigation. But the thing you really also need to understand is that when you make this kind of a list, and you have the idea of the things that excite you and the things that don't, what you call the pros and the cons, the things you prefer and the things that you don't. Many times in making this list, you will draw a line down the center, and you say, well, the things that I prefer exist on this side of the line, and the things that I do not prefer exist on this side of the line. And at the top, you will find the idea of your own appreciation, your own excitement. On top of the idea of the things you don't prefer, you will find the idea of depreciation, the idea of fear. So, One of the things you really need to understand, however, is that this line down the center is not a solid line. It is actually a permeable membrane. And thus then, when you stay in the state of your excitement and your joy at the heading of the top of the list of things you prefer, then the things on the side, the negative side that you don't have, that you would love to manifest, that you prefer to manifest, that are over there, the things you have listed there that you do not yet have as a manifestation, because you haven't yet fully acted on your excitement, such as what you might call, oh, I feel like I'm not being supported, I would like to be supported, I feel I don't have that yet, so that goes on the negative side, I don't have that yet, it's not manifested yet. But if you stay in the state of your excitement, then the things on that side of the line, the permeable line, will actually start to shift over to the other side. Conversely, because it's a permeable membrane, if you stay on the energy state of negativity, of fear, then the things on the positive side will start to shift over to the negative side. This line in the middle can be crossed in both directions. So you want to make sure, if this is what you prefer, that you stay in the vibration of your excitement so that the things that haven't yet manifested that you would prefer to manifest, that are representative of your dreams, will actually be able to cross through that permeable membrane, that line, and come onto the side of manifestation in a positive way. If you, again, stay on the side of your fear, you will only drag the things you have onto the side of the things you don't have at this time. So take inventory, take stock of the things that you would prefer, the things that you believe you'd prefer, but remember, you also have to drop the expectation. This is one of the tools. It's all well and good to list these things, but you have to also remember that things can manifest in a variety of ways that your imagination and your physical mind has not been able to foresee. So don't make it a rigid idea of exactly how you need to see that thing manifest in your life. Let it come to you from your higher mind in the way that your higher mind knows that it actually serves you best. But do the inventory. Remember all the tools. Write them down that we have talked about. Clarify them for yourselves, because many times you may think you know the tool. You may even be holding the tool in your hand, but you may be holding it in an inappropriate manner. You may be holding the saw and wanting to cut that piece of wood, but if you're holding the saw upside down, you'll be dragging it across that piece of wood forever and ever and ever and ever, wondering why it never gets cut. And then suddenly realize, wait a minute, that's not the way the tool is used. It needs to be used from a positive vibration, and then the teeth are facing down, and I can cut through the board just like butter. Make sure all the tools we have shared with you are being utilized in the appropriate way from a positive state, because anything can serve double duty, both positive and negative, even the tools we have given you. So allow yourself to remain in the state and take an inventory of all the things that you prefer to be. Put them out there clearly for yourself in whatever way, shape, or form works for you, by writing them down, by creating symbols, by creating music, by creating colors, whatever way your imagination wants to represent them. But start taking inventory. Start making those clear lists for yourself. Start reminding yourself of what it is you prefer, what it is you don't, and the tools that will allow you to remain in the state that you prefer to remain in. Do that inventory. It will be much easier for you to take stock of yourself, to really understand when you go off track and to bring yourself back into that path. And that will allow you the opportunity to truly, cleanly, clearly, step by step, reinvent yourself in the way that you prefer to in the upcoming accelerated energy of your new orbit of 2014. Does this make sense to you? Yes. All right. We can continue to clarify this idea with the exchange of the questions and answers if you wish. And any of your questions that do not get answered now before your break, we will continue to address after your meal break. But for the moment, let us continue in that direction by once again expressing to you our deepest appreciation for the co-creation of this interaction, and in return, how may we serve you now by addressing your questions and statements. Have you adjusted your electronic amplification system?
Yes, hello, Bashar.
And do you good day.
My name's John.
All right. Speak up and be bold so that all may hear what you have to share, and everyone realize that everything that anyone has to share has something in it for you too. Pay attention. Proceed.
I was going to ask whether I should share or drain your brain, but I think you just answered that question.
Thank you for your synchronicity.
Can your civilization surf the internet?
Our civilization?
Yeah. Our internet?
In this way, we will know what we need to know when we need to know it, and what we rely on mostly is the translations that exist and the vocabulary that exists and the knowledge that exists in the channel's brain. We will access our own version of the internet, which is simply tapping into the idea of infinite knowledge when we need to, but we don't really need to surf your internet in that sense.
Okay. I've been into studying cosmology.
Yes.
And I have a website called Mysteries of the Universe.
Oh, all right. Sounds exciting.
.info. And as I've heard I've only heard about 3 or 4 of your tapes. And it seems that it's in line with a lot of my theories, and that the universe is, the forward flow of time itself is the expansion of the universe.
Well, in a sense, the idea of time is that it is a side effect of your consciousness shifting through billions of parallel realities every second. That's what time is. Do you understand that concept?
Yes, in fact, this cosmic onion model, each onion layer represents one time quantum, one Planck time's worth of the universe.
Yes.
And as our consciousness, or this wavefront I call the space now manifold, expands through that,
yes,
each one's like a hologram of
what
the universe. It's
that
more
means
than just,
it's a multiverse, not
yes,
just a universe.
Correct.
All right.
And so each onion layer is parallel with the next onion layer.
Yes.
That's what we're perceiving as the passage and flow of time.
Yes. Because you're creating the continuity with your consciousness based on the idea of how you wish to experience the concept you call space and time.
So as far as physical reality is, I consider that to be a 4D hypersphere. However, that's in a broader context, higher dimensions of our mind,
yes,
our soul,
yes,
and our spiritual self, or higher
yes,
selves.
Yes. The higher mind, in that sense, and the physical mind are two parts of the same person, in a sense, that you are. And thus then the soul, shall we say, divides itself for every incarnation into a higher mind, a template reality, which is the blueprint level on which the physical reality is laid out to be experienced and the theme to be explored is set, and then the physical mind that actually has the experience. Thus taking the, shall we say, unfired clay of the soul and firing it into the ceramic of the spirit that is specific to the experience of the incarnation. Thus adding to the different perspectives of the soul, which thus then adds to the overall perspectives of the oversoul, of which the individuated soul is an extension.
Okay. That brings us to an experience I'd like to share that is rather mind-boggling.
Oh, all right.
But it's the most...
Some of the most mind-boggling experiences are the best kind, because it is very good now and then to boggle your mind.
Okay, I had a number of synchronicities starting on January the 17th, 1991, that suddenly 100 synchronicities fell in place that day.
Yes.
And it so blew me away that I
Where did it blow you to?
It sought me to seek God.
Which is more of yourself.
Which, okay. And that,
you understand you're an aspect of all that is, and thus then, to use your own term, holographically, you are also a version of all that is.
Which one of the most simple and profound expressions of that is, a friend of mine asked me what like a God consciousness would be like. And he says, imagine that God can look in through our hearts and see out of our eyes and experience our lives in the way that we do.
Yes, well, that is what God is doing.
Exactly. And so I explained to my friend, I says, now, right now, as we're having this conversation, we're connecting.
Yes.
And if you backtrack through your connection with God, God say, yes, yes, you're getting it.
Well,
you're
yes, you, each of you, you and your friend, is God talking to itself.
Yes.
Through a different perspective.
So I got to the point where I says,
this goes for all of you.
After fasting for over a week,
Yes.
after like almost a month of prayer, I said, okay, God, I'd like to see myself and the world through your eyes. And I whispered as deep in my heart as I could, I let go.
Yes.
And in that moment, I felt like I fell into a hand.
Yes.
And I was standing about an index finger tall in this hand. But as I looked across the room, as seen from the ceiling across the room, I saw myself sitting on where I was physically sitting.
Yes, yes, yes.
I said, "That's me." No, I'm me. That's my
Yes,
body.
yes. You
I
have the
says,
duality, yes.
Yes. And so at that point, I separated from my physical self, and I said, "Oh my God, you know." And I said, "I know." And I'm
You
sorry.
said, oh my God, or did you say, oh my me?
No, I said, "Oh my God." And he says, "I know." And
Yes.
he says, "I'm sorry." He says, "I understand." And
Yes.
he says, "Well, how are you going to answer this question?"
Yes.
Because that really bugged me. And so as I looked into, I was separated like, the physical reality was like the aquarium.
Yes.
And I was pulled out, and as the hand lifted me, I saw the rooftops of the condominium complex.
Yes.
The
You
west
expanded
coast
your
of the United
consciousness
States.
beyond the physical focus.
The Earth and the Moon just
Yes, yes, yes.
tens of thousands,
Yes.
millions, billions of stars, and then I saw
Yes.
the fuzzy oval of our Milky Way drop, and there's this vast darkness, and
Yes.
my stomach fell. And as he lifted me up to a height where I felt that I was right in front of his face, eye level with his eye. And as I stood out and I looked over the entire universe, I saw it as, not as it appeared that day, but the entire span of time where I could take it all in,
Yes.
or I could focus in at any depth within
Yes,
this
yes, yes.
hologram and
Yes.
see
Yes.
the galaxies crystallizing into
Yes.
existence at the
All right,
beginning.
now, one moment.
Okay.
One moment. Take a breath.
Thank you.
Now, understand, and you don't need to go any further.
Okay.
Congratulations. Sounds very exciting. Sounds like a good day.
Yeah, it was quite memorable.
Yes. Now, the idea to understand is that, as you say, as you describe, as you see, that you saw all that, God is all that, and God experiences all that. At once.
Exactly.
At once.
And that's
And
what
that
I got.
is all that is.
And that's what I got from that.
Yes.
So
Thank you.
then I asked this question, like, how am I going to, there's the Bible story of Satan speaking with Eve, and it's the tree of knowledge of good and
Yes.
evil.
Yes.
And so I says, how are you going to explain that? I mean, I don't feel it's fair that we're blamed supposedly for that experience.
Well, then stop blaming yourselves.
Okay.
Because you
So-
created the negative side of that.
And it all connects in the next three sentences.
Yes.
Okay, so I said, okay, so how are you going to explain that? And I looked as if through a tunnel.
Yes.
And as I was still standing in the hand, my perception traveled down the tunnel, and I was aware that I was traveling back through time.
Yes.
And I
That's
saw,
the second sentence. Let's hear the explanation in the third sentence.
I saw through their hearts and their minds, as he said, for the day you eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, your eyes will be open.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, and he said that God was hiding.
That's the fourth sentence.
Okay, yeah. All right.
Stop right there.
All right.
Again, the idea, the euphemism, the symbol, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil really is an understanding of staying in the balance point, in the center between the concepts of positive and negative experience and creation and belief. And so it's up to you to understand how to validate all of that so that you can choose what you prefer instead of invalidating what you don't prefer.
Okay.
That is sufficient. That is sufficient.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for your sharing.
Good afternoon, Bashar.
And you good day.
I just wanted to start by giving a statement, which is thank you.
You are welcome. Thank you.
I would also like to say...
Wait a minute. What happened to you are welcome?
You are welcome.
Thank you.
When I first came up, I really didn't have a question for in my head, which is why I began with the statement, thank you. And as I look
are
on
welcome.
that, the reason why I'm saying thank you is because in 2011,
Yes.
I also had a very good day.
Oh, all right.
In which case, I had been going through a very deep and dark depression for the last 6 years. And
How
I decided,
exciting.
It did teach me a lot. It taught me what I needed to know and got me where I am
Then you are
today.
using it as compression and no longer defining it as a negative, which is what creates the natural act of compression to turn into depression.
Yes, and that way I did that in order to find a positive
Yes.
aspect. And
Remember that there is always, always, this is your yin-yang symbol, always going to be a little bit of light in the darkness, as there is always a little bit of darkness in the light, so that you can always access the other side from each side.
And I think that's exactly what happened, because I had to hit rock bottom before I could discover who I was.
Many of you use that technique. You go down as far as you can, so that from that point forward, the only direction is up.
Yes, exactly.
Now, not that you have to do it that way, but since you did it that way, the idea, as you have done, is to treat it in a positive manner so that you can derive and extract the positive benefit from having done it that way, rather than spending any time berating or judging yourself for having done it that way, which only keeps you on the bottom where the rocks are.
That's what took so long for me to come over that, was to not understand that until I had hit the rock bottom
All
itself.
right, well, congratulations.
Thank you for that. But the one day I decided that I was done feeling depressed. I didn't want to feel that way or ever
All right,
again.
all right.
And so I changed.
Thank you.
And it was just that simple. There's no other way
It
to
is
describe
that simple, thank you.
And so I started to discover who I was, and I
you.
said, I want to meet with love.
Yes.
If there is a God out there, and I don't know if no longer if there is, but I want to meet, if there's a God, it's love.
There is no God out there. God's in here.
And that is what I ended up finding out.
Oh, congratulations.
In 2011, I did have what I would call the ascension experience.
All right.
Where I, much like the gentleman in front of me,
Yes.
felt very loved and cradled, and very, very much instantly became almost the size of the solar system.
All right.
Was everything I could feel that I was,
Yes.
everything there ever was, is, will
Yes.
be.
Yes. Now, the question for both of you in having created these good days is, will you choose to allow the good day to turn into the good week, the good month, the good year, the good life?
That's exactly what I want to do.
Then go right ahead. Nothing is stopping you, and you know that now. Yes? You know that now.
Yes, I do know that.
All right. So, if you ever find yourself thus then choosing to not have a good day, you now have the master key and the experience and the wherewithal to say, what would I have to believe is true to choose something I don't prefer? And then, of course, by investigating that and discovering what that is, you transform the negative into the positive and continue to thus then have a good day. Yes?
Yes, indeed.
All right. And so,
One of the issues I seem to be facing is I can't seem to accept that fact that I did all that on my own, and I somehow seem to want to hide that from myself, from other people. I don't go down the street and say, hey, I became all that was, have a great day, you know?
well, that's all right, but the idea is that you can apply, and this again is the idea for both of you, in creating those experiences, the next question is, how do you apply that experience in your physical reality? How do you bring it in through the expressions of your excitement and act simply like an example of that energy? You don't necessarily, although you can, walk down the street and say, I've had this transcendent experience and I know all of you can too, please have a good day. You can do that, but the idea is to then put this energy into action so that others can see in you, by what you do, an example of the expression of that energy, so that by acting as an example, you can show them, demonstrate to them how they could also choose to do that too. It would be perhaps helpful to take an aphorism from what you call the film industry. Show, don't tell.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
So be the example. You don't have to stand on the corner and spout the example. That's not really being the example.
Yes.
When you see people getting caught up in the idea of spouting what other people should know, you can see quite clearly that they themselves are actually not showing what they're telling other people to do.
They're simply just
So the
way.
idea is to really be the example, and that, to take it back to the biblical euphemism, is that when Yeshua, who you call Jesus, said, I am the way, all that actually means is, this is the way to be. Be this way.
Be like them.
Be like me. Do the things I do. And thus you will know that he didn't want Christians. He was telling you, you're all Christ's.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes. Absolutely.
So
I do that
Yes.
just by following my highest joy.
And acting on your highest
Yes.
joy to the best of your ability, taking it as far as you can till you can take it no further every single moment that you can do this with absolutely zero, 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 zero insistence, assumption, or expectation as to what the outcome ought to be. Yes?
Yes.
All right. That's the whole formula. That's all there is to it. It is that simple. All you need to do is do it.
Great.
This is the year of reinvention. Reinvent yourself along those lines, and you will stretch that good day into a good week, month, year, and life. Yes? And before you know it, you'll be living in the present.
Yes. Now is all we have, yes. Thank you.
Does that help you?
Yes, it does. Yes.
Thank you.
I would just like to close this the same way I began it,
Yes.
just by saying thank you. Thank you very much.
You are welcome. Thank you.
You are very welcome.
Thank you.
Hello, Bashar.
And you, good day.
Good day. So excited to be here.
So are we.
So I have been acting on my highest excitement to the best of my ability
Thank
every
you.
moment, and it's been exciting.
Well, what do you know?
I guess I'm.
You guess?
Yeah, well, I'm confused, so I'm asking a question.
Oh, all right.
I guess I'm looking for direction, exciting direction.
That way.
Direction that I would feel is exciting.
What do you mean
that
by
I haven't?
direction?
I guess
If you stay in the present and simply keep acting on the thing at any given moment that contains the highest excitement, then by acting on that, it will lead you in the correct direction for you. The direction is contained in the action. This is what we mean, again, and again, as we said in the beginning of this transmission, really understand the tools that we're sharing with you. When we say excitement is a complete kit, do you understand the dictionary definition of the word complete?
Yes.
Then why would direction be left out of it?
Because I was looking for it?
Exactly. If you understand and stay in the present and simply take the action on the thing that excites you at any given moment and let it lead you where it leads you, you will understand that direction is built in. Yes?
Yes.
And it will always lead you to the next thing, the next place, with whom you need to act, when you need to act with them, so on and so forth, give you the information when you need it. It will always contain that. It's a complete kit.
What about moments when I'm confused on what's exciting? Like,
Then allow yourself to examine at any moment what seems to be exciting. If it seems to be equally exciting, you usually don't have the same ability to act on each one. If you do have the same ability to act on each one, then it doesn't matter which one you choose. You could flip a coin if you wanted. Again, being that it's a complete kit, if that wasn't really the most efficient or path of least resistance for you that you chose, it will contain what it needs to contain to turn you around in the other direction. It's a complete kit.
thank you for reiterating, Bashar.
Thank you. Does this help you?
Greatly.
Is that sufficient?
I am hesitating, not sure why.
Is there something else you wish to discuss?
Yes?
Proceed.
I'm not sure.
Are you sure you're not sure?
That's exactly where I'm at. I am not sure, but I don't have a question. But I
Then
want to
you can
discuss
simply
something.
Make statements. You don't have to have questions. Make statements that you believe or know are true for you, if you wish. It's up to you. You don't have
Yes,
to.
just, okay. Well, I mean, right now in my life, what I find...
Do you see what I'm giving you? I'm giving you an opportunity to decide what's exciting for you. Is it exciting for you to make a statement? Is it exciting for you to think of another question? Or is it simply more exciting for you to sit down?
I suppose it's more exciting to make a statement. I like talking with you.
Well, all right. So act on whatever, at this moment, out of all the opportunities available to you, is the most exciting one.
All right.
That's what we're giving you a chance to do.
Thank you for this lesson.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, in my life right now, what I find very exciting is I've
Yes.
been making fermented food, and I've been, like, exercising a lot. And I've
Oh,
just
all
been
right.
working on these things. And
Yes, and having fun, yes?
yeah, that's really pretty much my highest joy
All right. Are you doing them in the most exciting way you can be doing them? Where it would be the most exciting to do it? With whom it would be the most exciting to do it? Because if you're leaving any of those components out, you're not actually acting on your excitement in a holistic way. Oh,
right.
Right. The complete kid idea needs to come from your direction, too.
Right.
Yes?
Yes.
And to not have a contradictory definition of excitement.
Such as?
Well, in a sense, as you did. I am acting in my excitement, but my excitement wouldn't contain the automatic understanding of what direction to go in. That's a contradictory definition.
Gotcha.
Understand? Because if it really is a definition of your excitement, why wouldn't it automatically contain an understanding of what direction to go in? Yes?
Right, yes.
So don't contradict yourself.
Thank you.
Make sense?
Yes, Bashar, thank you.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bashar.
We hope you find great excitement in rejoining your seat.
Shivai Bashar.
And to you, Shivai.
I'm very excited to ask these questions.
Oh, all right. Go right ahead.
Now, in the theme of 2014 as the year of reinvention,
Yes.
I'd like to discuss some of the environmental issues that we have going on back home in Australia
Yes.
and here in North America as well.
All right.
Now, we're trying to...
I beg your pardon.
We are battling...
You are what?
Battling?
Battling. Is that the energy you want?
No, and that's what
Why
I'm gonna
did you
speak
use
about.
that word?
Yeah, I couldn't really think of a more appropriate one, which is what the problem is, essentially.
What the what is?
You got me.
Battling. Problems. No wonder that you are having a tough time.
Yeah.
You're coming at it in a tough way, in a difficult way. Why are you walking the path of difficulty?
This is a good point.
Thank you. We often make them.
Yeah. Now, as a collective community, we're...
Yeah, she just ran right by that.
You're welcome.
Let's discuss.
Great.
Why are you walking the path of difficulty? If it was such a good point, don't you want to explore it?
Yeah, let's explore it.
All right, thank you. It's
So-
up to you. You don't have to.
No, let's make it happen.
All right. You don't have to make it happen. You just have to allow it to happen. Where did you come up with all of these negative definitions that you say you don't prefer but keep using?
Possibly some belief systems that...
Oh, they are belief
Yeah,
systems.
that
yes,
really
I'm
don't
saying.
serve me anymore
Where did you
at
pick them
all.
up from on the way?
Maybe TV?
Maybe TV?
Maybe the parents, maybe
the parents,
the
maybe
politics.
the society, maybe friends, maybe other things. Yes, well, if you don't prefer them, why are you still lugging them around? Isn't it tiring?
It is so
Well,
tiring.
why not lighten up
Right,
by lightening up on yourself?
I will.
All right, so stop battling.
Okay.
Stop trying. Yes?
Sounds good.
All right, so remember, again, the idea is, are you taking action in the direction of your excitement in an exciting way, or are you fighting fire with fire and just making a bigger fire?
I'm so glad you asked that question because for the first time, I'm definitely working in my highest excitement to achieve the best possible outcome.
Then
That's
where's
great.
the water that extinguishes the fire instead of battling? Where's the soothing? Where's the communication? Where's the peace? Please remember something that we said some time ago. You don't get peace by hating war. You get peace by loving peace. You understand?
Absolutely.
So, if you wish the idea of peaceful transformation, you must use the tools of peace. You must use the energy of peace, not the energy of conflict, not the language of conflict.
I completely agree.
There you go. So then, knowing that and being willing to move forward in that way on the things that excite you, how will you now be different?
Well, I would like to join in with the collective community in some form of an action or vision or something that we can do together.
Yes.
To create
One that you
what
will
we would
invent?
like. Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Absolutely.
You're the one up here talking. Why not take, oh, what was that word? The point position. Oh. You said I made a good point.
Yeah.
Why don't you make a good point? And be the point person for the idea of a creative, loving, peaceful activity that will allow you to accelerate in the direction you say you prefer.
All right, I've got a point, I think. I'd love to share it.
Yes?
So I feel that as a collective community here and everywhere in the world,
Yes.
we could hold the vision of the earth just thriving. You know,
Yes.
exactly how we see in Avatar.
Of
Because why
course.
not?
But
That's
the
what I want to create.
idea, again, is not just to hold the vision. The idea is for you, as we already just discussed, to behave like you're living in that reality so that others can see the vision in you as an example. And if you thus then live that way, others will join you. Do you understand?
Yeah.
You will be inspired by being in that state. You'll be inspired to do and say the things that need doing and saying so that others will become aware of what your vision is. And if they prefer to match that vision, then you will all move forward as a community. But someone has to take the first step. And since you're here talking about it, and it's your particular vision and your particular expression, why not be the one who simply exemplifies that?
Great. Thank you for the nudge in the right direction.
Yes, we are happy to nudge. If you remain a little bit stubborn about it, we are happy to kick you in the pants, too.
Sounds good. And with that too, I guess it's all about what I've realized is creating more of what we do want rather than what we don't. So instead of protesting and rallying, no fracking, no mining, you know, let's start rallying for clean energy and protecting the ocean. Actually, no, not protecting, because that then implies that it needs protecting.
Thank you for picking up on that.
Awesome. But more saying,
Yes.
yeah, just how great stuff is.
Did you
know?
see what recently happened in one of your Asian countries with regard to the idea of the so-called protesters and the police?
No, please give me an update.
You will find that because the so-called protesters were simply in a peaceful way expressing the idea of allowing the corruption in their government to change, the line of policemen that were sent out by the government to resist them actually sat down. And they all started hugging each other and crying.
Oh, wow.
This exists on your planet. Look it up. And that's a perfect example of another way to go about the idea. Yes?
Yes.
Look it up.
Greetings, Bashar.
And you good day.
It is wonderful to see you again.
You are not really seeing me, but I appreciate the sentiment.
Thank you. Yes. I have a few questions I would love to ask you. One is, when I go to sleep, I tend to travel.
All right.
When I wake up, sometimes I find myself paralyzed.
Yes.
And I'm not sure how to get back without, how to get back fully without being paralyzed.
Well, that may just be your technique of making sure that you're realigning with the proper dimensional parallel reality that you wish to inject yourself into. You see, the idea of shifting dimensions sometimes requires the idea, or a side effect of shifting dimensions creates the idea of what you're experiencing as paralysis, because in a sense you have to make sure that the vibrational frequency of the dimension you're going to is precise so that you can wind up where you want to wind up. And reinserting yourself sometimes can be that you just need to align yourself there and make sure that you don't move before you're ready to move, or you could actually find yourself shifting to a reality you didn't prefer to. So that may just be your technique of exit and re-entry.
I see.
Now, it may change over time, but it's nothing to worry about.
Thank you. Sometimes during this past year,
Yes.
for several days, I will find myself unable to speak properly, as if I'm speaking another language.
All right.
And no one can understand me.
All right. Sometimes that's a good thing.
I am curious, in those moments, am I in a different dimension communicating?
Well, in
or?
a sense, what you're actually doing for the most part is, because you're expanding your awareness, you're expanding your ability to perceive other aspects of reality, including other simultaneous existences in what you would call past, future lives, simultaneous reality incarnations, and so on and so forth, which all exist at once. You understand that?
Yes.
Past and future are illusions.
Yes.
All lives exist at once. and all experiences exist at once, and all reality exists at once, here and now. But when you expand your awareness, when you expand your consciousness, you're going to start finding things, in a sense, cross-connecting, leaking in. And at first it may seem a little bit confusing until you can kind of sort it out in a way that makes sense for you in the dimension in which you prefer to focus. So there may be a little bit of cross-wiring for a while, but again, you'll learn how to get used to that.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
And pretty soon you will be clear, because you're realizing there are other ways of communicating, and that the concept of physical language isn't necessarily the most efficient. So you are exploring other ways to be expressive, or to find a way to be more efficient in whatever forms of language that you choose to use. So you're just kind of disconnecting, in a sense, so that you can reconnect in a way that you prefer to.
Yes.
Notice a theme here. Yes, notice a pattern here. The idea of being out of body, figuring out how to reconnect, the idea of expanding to other awareness, figuring out how to reconnect with that. You are reassessing yourself, and in a sense, what you're actually describing is one of the symptoms of reinventing yourself. So you could say you're a little bit ahead of the curve, if you wish.
Thank you.
You understand?
Yes.
These are the kinds of symptoms that we have talked about in the idea of accelerating your awareness and becoming more of who you are. There may be momentary confusion about who you are or how to express yourself, but these are the natural symptoms of expanding yourself and coming from a new perspective, a new reality level. So it'll subside, it'll straighten itself out. All you need to do is keep acting to the best of your ability on your excitement. Why? Because it's a complete kit. And it will help you straighten out by leading you into the situations and circumstances that will give you more insight into what it is you need to do to smooth everything out and know that you are communicating just perfectly in the way that you need to. Yes?
Thank you. And
yes.
A week ago, I was laying on a bed of selenite crystal.
Yes.
And going through a guided meditation.
All right.
Where I left my body.
Yes.
And they were calling me back. The people here on earth were then calling me back into my body.
Well, all right, yes.
For some reason, I found myself crying, but I wasn't sad crying.
I understand.
So I was curious, could you tell me what
Many
what was
times you
going
will
on?
find that when you are at a point where you're ready to let go of belief systems that no longer work for you, you will cry. You will have a release, an emotional release, because you see, any kind of a belief system that you incorporate within yourself will create, because of your choice to have a physical experience, will create a chemical component that goes along with that particular belief. And so when you're ready to let go of a certain belief, you actually have to wash that chemical constituent molecularly out of your body, and you usually do it through tears.
I see.
You understand?
Thank you. Yes. Last week I was hiking through Indian Canyon.
Yes.
And as I touched the palm trees there, all of a sudden a beautiful Native American woman appeared.
Yes. Yes.
Could you tell me more about her, who she was?
You met a counterpart version of yourself in what you would call a parallel life, to reflect to yourself that you're starting to perceive more of who you are.
I see. Thank you. As I continued on that.
Take a bow.
Oh. As I continued on the hike, I met upon another Native American,
Yes.
beautiful white plumage headdress.
Yes.
And there was a shaman, an Indian shaman that came along with him, and they were
Yes.
there to gift me with something.
All right.
Could you tell me
Don't
more?
ask us who they were, because you're still in process with that.
Oh, I am.
Yes,
I
and we
see.
can't intervene with the process. There
I
are still
see.
things unfolding about what it is you were given.
Ah, yes.
We can't spoil the surprises. Being this close to your Christmas, we can't open your presents for you.
Thank you, Bashar. Yes, and the end of last week, I was walking on a labyrinth that was built on top of two vortexes over in Joshua Tree. As I was walking, I noticed not only Native Americans there, but also other cosmic beings there.
Yes.
Could you tell
Well, that's
me more
what a
about
vortex
that?
is, isn't it? Don't you understand what a vortex is? It's a
Mhm.
dimensional gateway
Mhm.
that connects to many other realities. So if
Yes.
you're increasing your ability in your senses to perceive beyond the physical realm, What do you think is going to happen when you walk into a vortex?
Yes.
It's
so-
like walking into a party. You only expect to see one person in the party?
Yes.
There are going to be people from everywhere at the party.
Yes.
So that's what you're doing. If you expand your senses, the veils are becoming thinner to you. You can perceive through what was heretofore invisible. And you will thus then see more of what's actually going on around you all the time, but was heretofore invisible to you.
Yes.
So this is not, in a sense, a cause for surprise. These are the natural expansions of your senses that go hand in hand with the expansion of your consciousness.
Yes. Could you tell me where I went? Which cosmos
I
is
just
connected
told you
with?
you were in a vortex, which is a hub and a connection point to many different dimensions.
I see.
So you were in the middle, in a hub of a crisscross, a crossroads of many different dimensional experiences.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes. Thank you.
So you were in all of them at once.
How exciting.
You didn't go to any one specifically. You were in all of them at once at the crossroads.
How exciting.
Yes, yes, it is
Thank
exciting.
You. Thank you.
So have fun.
Thank you so much. Could you also tell me more about EMFs,
Electromagnetic frequencies?
Yes, I find myself to be, ever since I was young, very sensitive.
What have I been saying? What have I been saying? Why are you asking the same question in different clothing? You have very sensitive senses that allow you to become a better receptive antenna for higher frequency energies.
Okay, so let me phrase it this way then. Are there
Or
processes?
you think it's going to actually be a different question?
No, are there processes I can use to make myself less sensitive?
No, you
No.
don't want to make yourself less sensitive. You want to channel the sensitivity in a way that allows you to feel more comfortable with it. And the way to do that is stop making as much difference between who you were and who you are. Because it is the differences that creates resistance. The difference in your definition between who you were and who you actually are. The more you recognize who you really are and behave as if you know that's who you are, the less difference there will be in the definition of yourself between who you were and what's happening. And when there is less difference in that definition, it'll be more aligned with what's happening, and it will be more comfortable, more natural for you, and you'll know how to express it in a way that doesn't feel difficult for you. You
Okay.
understand?
Thank you.
So that's what it takes. That's it.
That's it. Thank you so much, Bashar.
Thank you.
Much love.
Hello, Bashar.
And you good day.
Good to be here with you again.
And you as well.
Last time I spoke with you, you offered me the permission slip of exploring the connections I have with Orion, Sirius, Pleiades, and Arcturus
Yes.
in my artwork.
Yes.
And
what have you done?
So the suggestion was to make 4 distinct objects
Yes.
to see what the reflection was.
And?
And so I set aside one day for each object.
All right.
And what happened was I found that I was able to manifest incredibly quickly.
What a shock.
Yeah, and clearly.
Double shock.
Yes, which is a wonderful feeling to have in my studio. So what happened was, instead of creating 4 objects, it became one symbol
All right.
with 4 different parts that were interacting.
All right.
Yeah,
Whatever your imagination decides to alter the idea to is what works best for you. It is important to trust your imagination in that way because it's key to the vibration of your true self.
Yes, so that
So
was.
thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
And
Seeing that symbol did spark my curiosity
Yes.
for some symbols I came across last spring in Boston. I was in the Arboretum with a few friends, and
Yes.
we came across these symbols that seemed to appear instantaneously in the dirt. And I've held my curiosity for.
In which hand? Is it getting heavy?
It's dropping in. It's becoming something that I want to look at or
Oh, all
understand
right.
more.
Oh, well, all right. Go right ahead.
So I'm wondering what if there's a star system associated with those symbols we came across.
Yes. It's called The solar system.
Oh, wow.
Yours.
Ah.
In other words, it is similar to the idea that even though it may be connected interdimensionally to a multitude of things, the manifestation end of it, the appearance of it in your reality, is to some degree a product of a dialogue between your consciousness and the consciousness of the earth itself, similar in a sense to the concept that you call crop circles. You understand?
Yes, yeah.
So you are allowing yourself to become sensitive enough, allowing your space-time reality to become malleable enough to create synchronicities of symbolic dialogue between you and the consciousness of the earth. Now, what do you want to do with that, creatively speaking?
I will have to see where my excitement leads me with that.
You will.
Yes. So moving on to a different question.
Yes.
My meditations have become really wonderful recently.
Yes.
And I had one the other week where I was out in this desert landscape of sorts, and a contact crystal actually descended from the sky and keyed into my heart chakra.
All right.
And then came out of my heart chakra and became this
Yes.
plane that I
Yes.
stepped onto. And
All right, so you gave yourself a very fascinating permission slip imagery to allow you to shift to a certain vibrational level that would allow for a certain kind of communication with other level dimensional consciousness.
yes, and a being appeared that I recognized as a teacher.
Yes.
Which was very exciting to me
Yes.
because I feel like I've been wanting to have that kind of contact.
All right, well, there you go.
Yes, and my curiosity now is if there's a human counterpart to this teacher or a physical counterpart.
Can't tell you that.
Okay.
Not allowed to.
Okay. So meditation, perhaps I'm experiencing that works for.
That is your method right now, if that is what you are most strongly attracted to. There will be more information that will unfold
Okay.
in the appropriate timing.
Okay.
In terms of the idea of your curiosity, that is all well and good, but remember that when you allow yourself to create that kind of an experience and you allow yourself to create a certain energy state with it, the idea is to also act from that state and apply that energy into your physiological reality creatively, as you already know. So the idea of your curiosity is all well and good, but your curiosity will be satisfied when you allow yourself to continue to apply the state physically. Yes?
So taking the energy or messages, information,
And acting within that energy, from that energy, creatively, will allow you to create things that will reveal to you the things you're curious about.
I see.
So your curiosity is letting you know there is something there to discover, but you need to
pursue
take the
that.
action that will create the circumstance that will then be a reflection of that discovery for you.
Yes, I think perhaps that's why seeing this symbol that I created the other week with the 4 different parts, that was an exciting action because I thought that's a way for me to understand more
Yes.
about the symbols.
So take more actions,
Yeah.
you will reveal more information about what is hiding in your curiosity.
Okay.
Yes?
Yes.
Remember that every question contains the answer, and all you need to do is take the action of taking the little bent over question mark and straightening it out into an exclamation point. Yes?
Wonderful, yes.
All right.
Another thing, I just want to express gratitude for the abundance that's been coming into my life.
Yes.
And just realizing that it does come in lots of different forms.
Yes,
And,
but let's be more precise, shall we?
Yes.
I totally understand what you say, and I am
Yes.
not attempting to get you to walk on eggshells with your language, but the idea is to understand that the abundance is already there all the time. What you're actually expressing is the revelation of the abundance you already had.
Yes. Yeah.
Not that it's coming into your life, that you are revealing to yourself the abundance that's always been there, and that's the difference.
Yes, yeah.
Make sense?
Yes, it
Remember,
does.
everything is here and now. It's the second law of creation. So you don't attract things from elsewhere to you. You reveal things to yourself that are already here by making the invisible visible by matching its frequency. Yes?
Yes.
All right.
And what appeared for me this week is this bamboo flute, which is, yeah, it's
Yes, yes, yes.
Exciting.
So you are going to make magical music with the flute?
Yes, I am.
Oh, all right.
It's just wonderful because it was gifted to me. Or
Yes.
I won it in a raffle, so it's just came into my life with such ease that
Oh my goodness, can you stand it?
I can
Can
hardly
you stand how
it.
simple and how easy it can actually be to manifest? Of course, you can always overcomplicate it. You can always make it more difficult if that's what you enjoy. But nevertheless, you have now allowed yourself to begin to see it is that easy, it is that simple, it is that magical. Yes?
Yes,
Thank
indeed.
you.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good night.
Good day. And to you, good day.
I want to say thank you for your presence and for your state of being.
Thank you for yours.
You're welcome. I have a couple questions.
Yes.
It's a two-part question.
Oh, all right.
have-
Does that mean you have a two-part question and then another question?
No.
Oh, all right.
I have spent the last 13 years of my life as a teacher,
Yes.
and I teach high school, and I draw a great amount of passion and joy from doing the work with teens who are inner city youth who deal with a lot of
Oh, all
poverty
right.
and
And
I
if
s-
that is your passion, you are teaching high school by teaching school high.
Thank you. And I enjoy it, and yet.
Was that the pun you were looking for?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I deeply enjoy it, and it gives me a great sense of joy.
Yes.
And I also see myself as a student
Of course,
of
always.
this work.
So are we. We are teachers and students all.
And I'm trying to find a bridge.
You are what?
I'm
Finding.
finding a bridge.
Thank you.
Thank you. Between myself as a teacher and the student self that I am. And
All
some
right.
things have led me to your work.
Yes.
I have this.
May I ask you a question
Sure.
before you continue?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. One moment. Teacher!
Yes, Bashar.
Oh, thank you. Why did you phrase the idea as if you are looking for a bridge between the teacher and the student, thus in that statement automatically assuming there's a chasm?
Yeah. Because that's how I perceive it.
And why do you perceive it that way instead of as a holistic idea?
Well, because I teach curriculum and I have to sneak the spiritual into the classroom.
Sneak?
Sneak it. I can't be obvious, so I have to
sneak
it in and do it in subtle ways. And then as a student,
Yes.
I can immerse myself into the spiritual practices and spiritual study.
All right, but what you have described doesn't necessarily in any way mean that you have to create a chasm in your definition
Sure.
between the two ideas. You are still teaching, you are still learning, and the idea is that whatever way your imagination seeks to present it will be fine.
Okay.
But that methodology, that presentation, that expression doesn't necessarily have to, in any way, shape, or form, intimate that there's a chasm there.
Okay.
You follow?
Yes, I do.
All
Thank
right,
you.
so when you say, I'm looking for a bridge, what are you actually saying? Are you saying that you would like to do this in another methodology? You would like to express it more fully somehow, more outwardly somehow, rather than having to sneak around? Is that what you're saying?
Maybe.
Maybe. All right. Well, how does your imagination envision that that could actually work for you?
I am still trying to develop.
You are still
that.
what?
I'm still developing my imagination.
Sorry, we are
with that.
selectively deaf to certain words.
Indeed, indeed. A part of my development in that has been a student and finding ways that I can approach that
All
bridge.
right. Well, then as a student, your home fun assignment
Yes.
is to use your imagination to envision how you can
Right.
create a scenario, a reality in which you can express whatever it is you wish to teach in the way in which you wish to teach it. Because remember, we said if you're acting on your excitement but
Sure.
not acting on it in the way you wish to, where you wish to, how you wish to, with whom you wish to, you're not really fully acting on your excitement.
Sure.
Any component that is missing will not allow the excitement to actually be experienced by you in a holistic way. Yes?
Okay,
So how else can you do this? How else can you teach and be a student and teach in the way that you wish to, where you wish to, how you wish to, with whom you wish to?
I am looking for that. I am.
Looking for it.
Fine.
Well, if it doesn't exist, let's say hypothetically it doesn't exist on your planet at this time, then what? What are you left with?
making my classroom as close to my imagination as possible.
What else are you left with? Be bolder in your answer. Be
Creating,
bolder.
creating it myself.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So the idea, again, is if you understand the tool of excitement, and you know that excitement and acting on it leads to all other excitement, by taking and acting out the most exciting version, if there is another version that already exists, acting on whatever version is most exciting will lead you to it.
Yes,
You understand?
I do.
And then you don't necessarily have to create it in the way you think. If it exists, you'll be led to it by your excitement, and then you can know that in that sense you have created it in your reality by attracting yourself to it, by using excitement as a tool to do that.
Sure.
Make sense?
Totally.
And if you don't find it, if you don't run into it, then yes, you can create it, as you say in your language, from scratch.
Sure.
It's up to you. But you must act on the most exciting version of it first.
Okay.
That will lead to all other excitement. That's the driving engine of excitement. That's the organizing principle of excitement. That's the complete kit of excitement. You must act on the highest excitement version first.
Okay.
Not because you expect that that version has to come to fruition, but the idea of acting on it will place you where you need to be placed, one way or the other, because that's the driving engine.
Okay.
Yes?
Yes.
Does that help?
That helps. That helps a
right.
lot.
Anything else?
It is. I have one other question, and that is, as a student, I
Yes.
have been led to you through affinity, intrigue of channeled material, and I started with the Seth material, and that
Yes.
led me to the Abraham material,
Yes.
and Orrin and Dobbin, and
Yes.
then to you.
Yes.
And in this process, I wanted to see, because I said, why is this material still always coming across my path? And I made
Yes.
contact with a entity that revealed itself to me under the name ANCE, A-N-C-E.
All right.
And gives me information really on a personal level, a lot of encouragement, and I don't always access that state of being because of different belief systems. But I was wondering if you had information about any energy surrounding me or anything coming to you about
You
this.
need to add the beginning to that word. It's given you part of the word.
Right.
You need to complete the rest of it.
So it's anything that I can add to that adverb. So guidance.
Not
or-
anything specifically.
Okay.
You are being given a ants
Oh.
to be yourself.
Oh.
You need to add the CH. You need to participate. You need to collaborate. You need to become who you truly are in order to give yourself a chance to experience it in your life.
Wow. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Bashar.
I knew you. Good day.
My first question is about excitement.
Yes.
It seems to be the main tool I'm hearing about for manifestation.
It is one and main, yes.
Being a musician, I see a lot of things that look exciting but could lead to burnout and destruction.
Not possible. Again, listen to your definition. Things that are truly the definition of excitement cannot contain contradictory energy. If it contains contradictory energy, your definition, it's not a definition of excitement.
It feels like excitement.
At the first,
Yeah.
but if you choose things along the way that lead to burnout, then somewhere along the way you have chosen something other than your excitement.
Okay.
Because you cannot have a definition of excitement that contains a contradictory experience to things that are truly exciting.
So at the time, you just pause.
Yes.
And
At every step, you need to take a moment to decide for yourself whether the next choice you're making is actually still in alignment with true excitement, your true vibration, or whether you are actually choosing something that is out of alignment with your true vibration.
Understood.
Does that help?
Yes.
All right.
Continuing, what
Well,
other...
let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
You say you are musical.
Yes.
Well, do you not know the difference between a harmonic and a discordant sound?
Yeah, I do.
Well, there you go. All you have to do is pay attention to the real vibration that's going on at any given moment and play the notes you really prefer to play instead of playing the discordant ones.
Mm-hmm.
You follow?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
While we're talking about tools of manifestation,
Yes.
the main one that I heard today was excitement. Is there any others that you could tell me about? That
Well, there are
really
many
important?
definitional changes that can surround the concept of manifestation. And the other one you actually heard was the idea that manifestation is not bringing something to you that you don't already have.
It's revealing it to yourself.
It is revealing to you what's already there by matching its frequency.
Okay.
And the way you match its frequency is by acting on your highest excitement. Because if the manifestation is truly a representation of your excitement, then the manifestation will be there when you are in that vibration. Just remember, another tool, you cannot experience what you're not the vibration of first.
So you have to raise your own frequency too.
You have to be the vibration of the reality, or you cannot experience the things that are germane to that reality. It's simple physics. Again, once again, your own Einstein said so. You cannot solve a problem from the same level in which the problem was created. You have to go to another level to find the solution, because solutions are a different vibration than the idea of the initial challenge. So you have to be the vibration first, then you will be inspired and attractive to the synchronicities and the thoughts and the ideas that come hand in hand with that vibration. If you are not that vibration, then all the doors that may be right there in front of you will be completely invisible to you. Except the doors that will be visible will be those that reinforce the vibration that you're in, which may not be the vibration you prefer. Remember, there is positive and negative synchronicity. So whatever vibratory level you are on is what will reinforce what you experience your reality to be and what you experience of the opportunities made available to you. Yes, makes sense?
Makes sense.
All right. Oh,
Yes, it does.
all right. And
Last question quickly. Do you, I've been really interested in first contact, a global first contact.
so are we.
So I'm sure this is my first contact right now, but I mean a global,
Not necessarily.
massive first contact for everyone to see. Do you foresee anything like that happening?
As we have said, first of all, understand, of course, there's no such thing as a prediction of the future. There is only a sensing of the energy that exists at the time the prediction is made. If that energy doesn't change, then it may manifest. If it does change, something else will happen. However, if there's a great deal of momentum, a great deal of energy behind something, and it seems unlikely to change, then a high degree of probability will allow the idea of a so-called prediction to manifest. And in this context, the idea of our interactions with you would make it seem as if, as we have said before, that the highest degree of probability for open contact on your world will occur sometime in the window of your years 2025 to 2033.
Cool.
Whatever temperature you want it to be.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's a little related to that first question,
Yes.
but the second question is that in one of your recent videos, you said that Japan will lead a new economic system or paradigm or something to that effect. Can you elaborate on that?
What we were actually referring to is the idea that you have an opportunity in your hands right now to go in a new direction technologically with regard to the idea of the production of energy. And if your particular country decides to do that and really put a lot of energy behind that, no pun intended, then the idea will be that you can actually create something that will trigger a completely new economic system if you go in that direction.
And are you referring to the so-called free energy?
The so-called free energy, yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, my last question is, about 2 years ago, I went to a Skywatch, and instead of seeing UFOs,
Yes.
I saw a beautiful constellation of Pleiades.
Yes.
And it was
Subaru, ne?
Right, Subaru. Yes, yes. Yes, there's a strong fan base in Japan, Bashar, that you probably know already.
Yes, I do.
A lot of people love you. Yeah, I was just telling in the Facebook yesterday that I'm going to celebrate with winter solstice with Bashar, and many Japanese people say, "Wow, that's cool. We love Bashar too." So.
Did they say, wow, that's cool, or did they say, sugoi?
They say, 私もバシャール大好き.
Oh, all right, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh.
Meaning that, I love Bashar
Yes,
too.
yes.
So I saw a beautiful constellation of Pleiades, and it just seems like it was giving, there were other people too, but I
Yes.
personally felt so, it was so beautiful.
Well,
So-
that's because you have a personal energetic connection to that.
Oh, okay. Huh. Just wanted to know whether that was the case.
That is the case.
Okay, okay. So
So your
energetic-
senses picked up upon the vibration that you have a strong connection to, that you've made a strong connection to in this incarnation, to draw energy and information down through that connection to aid and assist you in application in this life.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes, I'll watch the video and later and understand what you just said.
All right.
Okay, thank you very much.
どういたしまして。
I feel compelled to ask about the ocean.
The ocean,
The
yes.
ocean, because you said we could make statements, and I like.
Of course you can.
Talking about Willa, I like kids. They're magical and exciting and fun, and the
Yes.
ocean is very similar.
Yes.
In that vibration for me, for me
Very
personally.
fluid, yes.
Yes, and that kind of leads into the healing of nature and the feeling that you kind of talked about yesterday about that as permission slip.
Yes.
And being grounded and all that. Can I ask about the sea itself and the mineral properties?
I don't
and-
know, can you?
I'm going to. Maybe you can.
Thank you.
Maybe you can help with the mystery of that.
Maybe I can. We don't know yet. Ask the
Awesome.
question.
Is there any correlation to the sea and the minerals and the temples and healing that we can expand upon or,
Of course
or
there
utilize? Any tools you can give us to help us utilize that correlation?
Are you connecting to the idea of Atlantean times?
I don't know. Maybe.
All right. Understand that in Atlantean times on your planet, there were temples that were open to the ocean so the dolphins could swim in and participate in many of the ceremonies. And they had an actual culture exchange. So the idea of interacting with cetacean consciousness is not only a strong connection to Sirius energy, it is a strong connection to the idea of everything in the sea and the ancient vibration of Atlantis, and the idea of recognizing that as humans are the stewards of the land, the dolphins and whales are the stewards of the sea, and really once again reforming a true relationship between the two societies, the two cultures. Yes?
Got it.
So is that something that's of excitement to you?
Yes.
All right. What do you want to do about that? How do you want to act from that exciting vibration? It's up to you.
Okay.
Repeat after me.
Okay.
Atalanti.
Can you say that?
Atalanti. Atalanti. Atalanti.
Atlanti?
Atalanti.
Atlanti?
Atl.
Atalanti?
A-T-L. Atalanti.
Atalanti.
Yes, Atalanti was actually the way they pronounced their society. Atalanti.
Atalanti.
Atalanti. Perhaps the vibration of the actual name that was given at the time will help pinpoint the vibrational direction for you as a permission slip. Atalanti.
Atalanti.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes?
Thank you.
Anything else?
I don't know. Is there anything else?
I don't know. Is there anything else? I'm nothing if not reflective.
Yeah, I appreciate that very much.
So do I.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah. Is there anything else with Atalanti and healing and energy? That
If you're asking a question, you must have some suspicion that there is.
There is. I know that there is. I just don't know. I feel
You
like
just
I'm-
don't know what.
I feel like it's mysterious, and I'm
It
missing
is
some
mysterious,
pieces.
but that's part of the fun.
Yes.
Because in Atalanti was the original mystery school.
Ah.
And that's what you need to recall. All right?
Thank you.
Be a student of the original Atalanti Mystery School, and you will start learning the same lessons that were learned back then. Because Atalanti still exists in a parallel reality, because all things exist at the same time. So connect to the Atalanti Mystery School, and you will allow the lessons to sink in.
Got it. Thank you.
Just like sinking into the sea.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
I'm already having one.
since I was little, people have always called me an old soul, and
Yes.
I just kind of want to know a little bit if you know anything about that.
The idea that your people call an old soul is simply the idea of someone with a number of cross connections to other simultaneous incarnations, so that you are drawing upon a large amount of energy, a large amount of information from a multitude of simultaneous incarnations instead of just a few.
Thank you. That makes a lot of sense.
Our deep appreciation and heartfelt gratitude for the co-creation of these transmissions and the co-creation of a new reality. And we bid you the happiest of New Years. Good day.
I am. What is that?
Can you see it good right there?
Yeah, you can see the.
If who's gonna take me home now, I'm not safe here. Holy crap. No, I'm just
Oh, the trees are covering now.
They can pin over there so they can see that it's not just.
It's a regular sky. And then wait, there's trees. So let's go back to regular sky.
Regular sky, chill, chill. Right here, I think.
And UFO sky.
Oh, snap.
And it's just over there, huh?
Yeah, just right there.
Nah, but when we were coming in the mountains, it was white. It was white and foggy.
Like, I wasn't paying attention, and we see some like ocean in the mountains, and there was a white one.
Not foggy.
Непонятное свечение.
No, this is perfect. What the hell is it? It just went through the middle, look! The white light just came out through the middle.
UFOs. It's weird for UFOs.
Oh, they are stars.
Those aren't stars. No, they're not stars. They're blowing out and then coming back in, and then they're like waving around. And it's
stars in the sky. Huh? There's stars in the sky.
no, it's just a regular.
I'm scared of bugs. Bugs.
There was one of them coming down, it bursted into four. Four of them, after the four burst, then three of them burst and came back together, coming at each other. Now I see some, look, there's something blinking up there. What's that blinking thing?
That's fucking weird. Helicopters don't stay steady like that.
A mysterious truckload kept drivers from taking a rest along I-57. This large object you're about to see spent the day at the rest stop just north of the Pisodum ramp. State police blocked off the entrance and wouldn't let drivers pull in. Troopers wouldn't say what was behind the white wrapping. All we know is they were in charge of escorting the load, which was being carried by Diamond Heavy Haul Incorporated, a company that carries large pieces of equipment. Many people called us today saying it looked like a flying saucer or top secret military plane was parked near the highway.
Here's your list of charges. You hacked into the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Department of Defense, and NASA, amongst other things. Why?
I was in search of suppressed technology, you know, laughingly referred to as UFO technology. I think it's the biggest kept secret in the world because of its comic value. But it's a very important thing. We've got old age pensioners can't pay their fuel bills. We've got countries being invaded to get award oil contracts to the West. And meanwhile, secretive parts of the secret government are sitting on suppressed technology for free energy.
So how did you go about trying to find the stuff that you were looking for in NASA, in the Department of Defense?
Well, I assumed that although it's part of a secret government project, there must be military ties. I'd read 400 expert witness testimonies, ranging from civilian air traffic controllers through military radar operators, all the way up to guys that were in charge of whether or not to launch nuclear missiles. So it's a very credible people. All of these people had said that there are UFOs, they are alien. We're using anti-gravity and reverse engineered technology that came from captured UFO craft.
We're using anti-gravity?
Yeah.
Okay, so how did you go about hacking into the computers to find what you were looking for?
Well, unlike the press would have you believe, it wasn't very clever. I searched for blank passwords. I wrote a tiny Perl script, the Perl language, that tied together other people's programs that searched for blank passwords, so you could scan 65,000 machines in just over 8 minutes.
So you're saying that you found computers which had a high-ranking status, administrator status,
Yep.
which hadn't had their passwords set. They were still set to default.
Yeah, precisely. And in some cases, it was thousands of machines because they had an image. Rather than install Windows off a CD in every machine, you blat it onto an image, stick the image in all the machines, and every single machine has a blank local administrator password. So,
inside NASA.
One of these people was a NASA photographic expert, and she said that in Building 8 of Johnson Space Center, they regularly airbrushed out images of UFOs from the high-res satellite imagery. And using the same blank password hunting technique, I got down to Building 8, got a few blank passwording machines there, and what she said was there. There was folders called filtered and unfiltered, or processed and raw, or something like that. I got one picture out of the folder, bearing in mind this is a 56K dial-up, also in a NASA proprietary image format, not a GIF or a JPEG or anything. So using the remote control program, I turned the color down to 4-bit color, the screen resolution really, really low, and even then this picture was still, juddering and coming onto the screen. But what came onto the screen was amazing. It was a culmination of all my efforts. It was a picture of something that definitely wasn't man-made. It was above the Earth's hemisphere. It was kind of looked like a satellite. It was cigar-shaped. It had geodesic domes above, below, to the left, to the right, and both ends of. And although it was a low-resolution picture, it was very close up. This thing was hanging in space. The Earth's hemisphere was visible below it. And no rivets, no seams, none of the stuff associated with normal man-made manufacturing.